Assalamualaikum and salam sejahtera. Hello, selamat pagi, good morning, sawasdi, xin chào, chom repsor, sebaidi, minglaba, and magandang umaga. On behalf of the organizer, SEAMEO Regional Center for Special Educational Needs, SEAMEO SEN, and our collaborators at Tech Hub and SEAMEO Regional Center for Education in Science and Mathematics, SEAMEO RECSM, I would like to welcome everyone to our webinar on empowering educators, navigating the integration of generative AI and education in Southeast Asian contexts. I would like to also welcome teachers, education officers, parents, and school administrators from all over the Southeast Asia region and beyond. As some of you might be tuning in to us from various time zones, allow me to say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. We would like to also express our sincere thanks to everyone for being with us today. This webinar is expected to run for about 3 hours, packed with valuable sharing from our esteemed invited expert from the Ministry of Education Malaysia, EdTech Hub, the Institute of Education, University of Chile, SEAMEO Innotech, and SEAMEO STEM Ed. We hope you will stay tuned with us until the end of the webinar. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Zulkarnain, and I will be the MC for the next 3 hours of our webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, for your information, this webinar aims to explore how AI can enhance teaching practices and personalize learning experiences while examining the competencies and standards required for its integration into education. Participants will also engage in discussion on the future impact of AI policies and practices.
Recording stopped.
And gain insights
Recording in
into
progress.
leveraging AI to transform education in the Southeast Asian context. Before we go any further, allow me to share some notes as reminders for all participants. We hope all participants will tune in from the start until the end of the webinar to avoid missing out on important sharing and announcements. Kindly refrain from using the comment section for conversation with other listeners. Instead, you may address questions to the speakers. Please avoid using simplified words in your notes so that the webinar secretariat and others may understand you better. If you have sound or video issues, you may try the alternative live channel such as our YouTube Live and Facebook Live. Links are available in the description section below the screen. E-certificate shall be issued only to registered participants. For those who have yet to register, you may still register at our SEAMEO SEN Integrated Excellence System (SEAS) site by scanning this QR code. E-certificate will be available upon completion of the webinar evaluation on the SEAS site. Evaluation will be activated at the end of the webinar. Rest assured, we will remind you again at the end of the webinar. Please complete both registration and evaluation within today after this announcement, or before 12 midnight Malaysia time. And if you need further assistance, you may reach us through our email communication@seameosen.edu.my. Ladies and gentlemen, moving on with the agenda. We are proud to have with us here today 6 distinguished speakers, not only from the Asia continent, but also from the South American continent, which will definitely enlighten and enrich us. We will also be listening to special sharing from our teachers on how they incorporated AI in their teaching and learning in the classroom. Let us now listen to the opening remarks from Madam Jamilah Kadir, the Director of SEAMEO SEN. Madam Jamilah, the floor is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Greetings from SEAMEO Regional Center for Special Educational Needs, SEAMEO SEN. Ladies and gentlemen, as we embark on this insightful webinar on empowering educators, navigating the integration of generative AI and education in the Southeast Asian context, I am filled with gratitude and optimism for the future of education in our region. We are honored here to have with us our distinguished speakers, Mr. Zainal Abas, Director of Education Resources and Technology Division from the Ministry of Education, Malaysia, Mr. Jazib Zahir, Pakistan Co-Lead from EdTech Hub, Ms. Hani Mazari, Asia Lead and Digital Personalized Learning Focal Point from EdTech Hub, Professor Roberto Araya, Full Professor from the Institute of Education, CIAE, and Attorney Ira Paulo Pozon, Chief of Staff and Manager, Legal Policy and Quality Management Office from SEAMEO Innotech, and not forgetting Dr. Kritsachai Somsaman, Director of SEAMEO STEM Ed. Firstly, I extend my heartfelt thanks to our distinguished speakers and moderators for joining us today to share their invaluable knowledge and perspectives. Your expertise will be crucial in highlighting the challenges and opportunities presented by the generative AI in education. We look forward to your contributions that will deepen our understanding and inspire us to think creatively about harnessing AI to enhance educational experiences. The goal of today's webinar is to create awareness about generative AI among educators and also policymakers in Southeast Asia. We aim to eliminate how AI can support personalized learning, enhance teaching practices, and improve administrative efficiencies while also addressing the ethical considerations that come with AI integration. A key focus of our discussions will be the importance of highlighting teachers' competencies and standards in integrating AI into education. As we move forward, investing in professional development and creating robust support systems for our educators is essential. By equipping them with the necessary skills and knowledge, we empower them to effectively leverage AI tools and create more engaging, inclusive, and impactful learning environments. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, let us seize the insights and momentum from today's discussion. Let us engage in open dialogues, share best practices, and work together towards a future where AI serves as a powerful ally in our mission to provide quality education for all. Together, we can navigate the integration of generative AI in education, transforming challenges into opportunities and fostering a more inclusive educational landscape in Southeast Asia. Thank you once again for your participation and contributions. I look forward to our fruitful discussions and the positive impact we will create together.
Thank you, Madam Jamilah, for the inspiring note. We have another important message before we begin. Allow us to share a brief video prepared by the Department of Education, DepEd, the Philippines, sharing on the 777 flagship programs for fostering education under the Philippines SEAMEO Council Presidency for the year 2024 and 2025. Let us watch the video now.
The SEAMEO Strategic Plan 2021 to 2030 serves as the guide of the Southeast Asian education sector to further promote sustainable human resources for a better quality of life in Southeast Asia and beyond. The 7 priority areas are as follows: achieving universal early childhood care and education, addressing barriers to inclusion, promoting resilience in the face of emergencies, promoting technical vocational education and training, revitalizing teacher education, harmonizing higher education and research, adopting a 21st century curriculum. To further achieve the goal of education priority areas to the Southeast Asia with the strategic plan battle cry, leading through learning. The Philippines, as the current SEAMEO Council President, aims to take the lead in strengthening regional cooperation in the Southeast Asia towards education development, inspired by the Philippines' Matatag Agenda and guided by the 7 priority areas of SEAMEO. We bring you the 777 flagship programs of the Philippines SEAMEO Council Presidency. Through this initiative, we hope to foster a culture of collaboration in the Southeast Asian region as we learn from each other through the 7 flagship programs. We envision one flagship program to complement each priority area, starting with flagship program number 1, From Policy to Action: Global Trends and Best Practices in Early Childhood Care and Education. Flagship Program Number 2, Experts Meeting on Child Protection and Learners' Well-Being. Flagship Program Number 3, Ready C, showcasing the integration of disaster risk reduction and climate change in the teaching and learning process. Flagship Program Number 4, Elevate TVET, transforming youth perceptions in technical and vocational education and training in Southeast Asia. Flagship Program Number 5, fostering collaboration and knowledge sharing, building a community of educators across SEAMEO member countries. Flagship Program number 6, Scoping Study on Micro-Credentials. Flagship Program number 7, Experts Meeting on AI in Education. Through sustainable partnerships, we hope to achieve transformation through learning exchange, building resilient systems as a region. This 2024, we aim to launch flagship projects 1, 7, 5, 4, 2, and 3. Towards the end of our term, we aim to deliver flagship program number 6. As we work towards our vision, Southeast Asia is envisioned as a region where collaborations in education will thrive, and the impact of the 7 flagship programs of the Philippines will continue to create a ripple effect to the SEAMEO member countries. Let's build a resilient system as a region by learning from each other as we take it one flagship program at a time. The Philippines CMEC Presidency Flagship Programs, upward together for every Southeast Asian learner.
Definitely something we look forward to. Without further ado, allow me to introduce our moderator for the first session, Dr. Muhammad Aziz Sani Mat Jalil. So allow me to read his profile. Dr. Aziz Sani Jalil is the Deputy Director of SEAMEO SEN, a regional center for special educational need, which promotes inclusive education for all learners, including those with disabilities in Southeast Asia. His passion for helping children with disabilities began when he discovered the importance of early intervention for his own son, which diagnosed with autism. Dr. Aziz is responsible for developing and implementing programs that support the education and development for children with disabilities. He works closely with educators, policymakers, and stakeholders to identify best practices for supporting children with disabilities and promoting their adoption throughout the region. Through his work, Dr. Aziz is helping to create a more inclusive and equitable society for individuals with disabilities in Southeast Asia. His dedication and passion for promoting the rights and needs of children with disabilities are making a significant impact on countless individuals and families. May I now invite Dr. Aziz to take over in moderating the session. Dr. Aziz, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. MC, Mr. Nine, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to our first session of this webinar on empowering educators, navigating the integration of generative AI and education in Southeast Asian context. So for our first session entitled Creating Awareness on Generative AI. And in this session, we are looking for the key benefits and risks associated with the use of generative AI in education. Previously, we introduced with the AI, but now we have a generative AI introduced. So we need to aware and understand what is a generative AI actually. And the second one, how we can effectively raise awareness about this AI among educators and policymakers in Southeast Asia. And lastly, what strategies can be employed to ensure that AI technology is accessible and beneficial to all students regardless of their background. So to understand and to discuss about all these objective or the issues that highlighted before, we invited two esteemed speakers in this first session. So without further ado, let me introduce our first session. Our first speakers is Mr. Jazib Zahir from EdTech Hub. So Mr. Jazib is a prominent figure in the educational technology sector, currently serving as the Pakistan co-lead for EdTech Hub. His role involves bringing evidence-based approaches to educational initiatives across Pakistan. With over 15 years of experience, Jazib has been pivotal in running software product studios and teaching at the university level. His expertise extends to developing AI training programs that have been implemented not only across Pakistan but also for several global companies. Jazib holds a Bachelor in Electrical Engineering from Stanford University and uh, Master in Education in Technology, Innovation and Education from Harvard University. His work focuses on leveraging technology to enhance educational outcome, emphasizing the importance of personalized and adaptive learning strategies. He has also been active in fostering inclusivity in education, ensuring that marginalized communities have access to quality learning opportunities through innovative tech solutions. So, without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Jazib for his session. Mr. Jazib, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for that kind introduction. Really excited about spending the next 15 minutes or so kind of guiding you guys on the general awareness with regards to generative AI relevant to educators and policymakers, and also highlighting how this might be relevant to Southeast Asia. So really looking forward to sharing all of this with you, as well as kind of gauging your questions and kind of guiding you on this topic as best as possible. So if I look at kind of the general outline I'm looking to follow, I would like to start by kind of showing you guys the scale on which AI is going to operate. I want to kind of give you a sneak hint into how it works under the hood, but I also want to guide you on the limitations it might have. I want to guide you on how people might be using it in education. And I really want to focus on what you'd want to know as a policymaker. And I'd like to ultimately guide you on what we should be expecting next. So moving from the outline to my next slide on the scale of AI. Now this visual makes it very clear that AI is exploding. As you can see over the years, it's become the buzzword, and particularly AI, generative AI is the one that people are most excited about, because for the longest time, we thought that AI just couldn't do creative tasks. And the boom in generative AI has shown us that it can do a lot more than pre-programmed repetitive tasks, and it can be used to compose content and the kind of creative analytical content that's so central to how we work. I always explain to people that the reason AI has exploded today is because even though theoretically we knew how to do all these things for since a long time ago, since the 1950s, it's only now that the hardware and infrastructure required, the data, the storage, the transmission, has actually come to the point where it can support what theoretically we knew what AI could do. So we are at that golden time at which the hardware and software capabilities have converged. But I also want you to make you aware of the fact that this AI is not operating in a vacuum. It requires tremendous hardware, infrastructure, compute, and electrical resources. And that's also something we should think about as educators, policy makers, think about the video. My next slide, how I always look under the home, an Instagram advertisement might work on my next slide. So you can see that the something like Instagram or something like LinkedIn usage, what you click on, what you write about yourself, it applies its AI algorithms to predict what you will do next. So it's always trying to forecast what you will do in the future based on not just your past behavior, but the past behavior of everyone around you. Now, generative AI has basically just accelerated this trend of finding mathematical patterns in human behavior and being able to forecast on large scale what we're trying to say, what we're trying to do, and it seems to be working very well in text. My next slide about where AI has limitations, where AI can hallucinate, where AI can go wrong. So on the screen now, you'll see this picture, which is talking a bit about AI hallucination. So if in a generative AI tool, you were to write down a pizza eating hamster on a Hawaiian beach, such as a tool that generates images based on prompts. So first of all, you might observe that the images look pretty similar, and the reason is because a lot of these AI tools are trained on similar content. But you'll also observe that the example on the right actually has the pizza eating the hamster rather than the hamster eating the pizza, such as the first two. And the reason is because those subtleties of syntax that we understand in using language just do not translate well to AI tools. So AI tools can generate a lot of fake images and a lot of misunderstood images. And we as educators need to realize that before we give our students unbridled powers to using these things. Let's look at the next slide where I talk a bit about the bias that comes into AI. So if you use an AI tool to generate images around a committed janitor, it will always generate images of people that look Mexican. If you ask an AI tool to generate an image of an assertive firefighter, it'll always generate an image of a Caucasian male. Why? Because AI is amplifying our biases. AI is being trained on publicly available data, and AI is based on probabilities. If probability says a janitor is going to be Mexican, AI will assume it's always Mexican. If probability says the firefighter is going to be a white male, then AI will make sure it's always a white male. And these are the things we need to be careful about when using AI. My next slide shows another example of bias related to language and gender. If you use AI tools to translate, which a lot of people do, you looking at this example, you'll see that if you try to translate she is a doctor, he is a nurse to Hungarian, it gives you the output in Hungarian where the context of the gender is not there. But if you take the same sentence in Hungarian and use AI to translate it back to English, it says he is a doctor, she is a nurse. It actually flips the genders around. Why? Because probability based on data says that doctors will tend to be male and nurses will tend to be female based on the data available online. So these kinds of biases in online information are basically getting amplified through all these AI tools. But that's just kind of an indication of the limitation. Let me come to my next slide, which talks about some of the powerful things we can do. And I really do want to give you that message that there's a lot we can do with AI as long as we are aware of its limitations. Khan Migo of Khan Academy is one of the most well-known tools for AI in education. And the way AI tools in education are different from general AI tools like ChatGPT is, if I ask ChatGPT what is 7 multiplied by 4, it'll just give me the answer. It'll say it's 28. But if I ask an AI-based educational product like Khan Migo, it won't just give me the answer because we as educators don't just want to feed the answers to our students. We want to guide them through a certain growth mindset, through a certain process on how to figure it out. We want to give them tips. We want to scaffold things and we want them to ultimately come up with the answers themselves. So this slide illustrates what happens when you give the same question to Khan Migo. And instead of giving the answer, it says, let's figure it out together. What do you get if you add 7 4 times? So it's actually simplified the way you think about multiplication and made you think in terms of addition. So the better, the fast improving AI in education tools are all tools that take this approach. Coming to my next slide, which talks about various educational tools in AI, Khanmigo is just one illustration. This is a screenshot from the tool Magic School, which is kind of a customized, tuned, optimized large language model specifically for education. And if you look at the wealth of resources they're offering here, you can generate images, you can make lesson plans, you can make rubrics. So you will find that teachers around the world, and I can certainly tell you that's the case in Pakistan, are already playing around with these things and finding them quite useful. And what they're finding is these tools are improving very quickly and they are actually saving their time and effort on things like making lesson plans by using AI to generate them based on limited prompts. My next slide shows you kind of how it works. This is a worksheet generator. It asks you what grade level you want to make the content for. It asks you for a prompt. What is the topic you want it on? And the more detailed and the more precise the prompt, the better is the output. So what you'll find is these customized AI tools for education that are easily available. Some are free for limited use and some are paid. They can actually generate the kind of worksheets, the kind of assessments, the kind of content that teachers want. And what teachers are finding is that not only are they pretty much good enough to use right away, they're also improving pretty fast, which is great for everyone involved. Coming to my next slide, I want us to realize that yes, AI is potentially great for tutoring, for counseling, but it's also can be directly used for people in administrative roles. I mean, the way schools are run, there's a lot of administrative work, and what you'll see is that people are using AI for the job descriptions, for writing proposals, making newsletters, coming up with strategies to improve the school, looking at data about children to identify who is detached and who is likely to need some rectification. So these are all kinds of benefits that we're seeing from various tools for AI in education. Coming to my next slide, here's an illustration of some of the tools you'd seen around you. I've talked about Khan but ChatGPT actually works very well in a lot of educational contexts. I've mentioned Gemini, which is integrated in Google's tools, and you'll see that it uses prompts to make it easier for you to generate your slides and your documents, and that's really something very useful in education. I've mentioned Lingumi. It's an example of a language learning tool. It has AI-based speech recognition, so children can improve their spoken English. And it is actually quite widely used in parts of Southeast Asia, particularly Taiwan. So increasingly, you're going to see AI being used to help people practice their speaking, practice their language skills, and increasingly, these tools are getting better and better. Coming to my next slide, thinking from the hat of a policymaker, distinguishing between the opportunities and threats, I would say AI is a great opportunity to personalize content as per individual student needs. It potentially can level the playing field by making all these resources available at relatively low cost to a wide range of people, not just people who already have access to the best teachers and resources. But there are threats as well, because I've shown you AI brings biases, there are errors, and there are significant physical resources that could be treated as centralized government driven physical resources to make AI accessible to everyone. So building on from there, on my next slide, I talk about the expected impact of AI. And as a policy maker, you should realize that AI is potentially bringing a lot of change to the economy and how we're going to upskill people. We need to think about the best way to invest in infrastructure, how to test these products before launching because they have bias and limitations. Can we explain how they work? Can we make them transparent so people don't treat them as magic black boxes? Can we make sure that these AI tools are consistent with our democratic beliefs and how we want to treat data? And most of all, we need to pick and choose and decide how to use AI applications consistent with what we believe about education so that we use the tools that continue in the same vein and spirit in which we want to continue education. Coming to my next slide, which is my last slide, I'd like to hint at what you should be expecting next. I would say these models are improving so fast that even within a few weeks, when you try the same tool, you'll see better output and more features. And you'll find that the costs of implementing these things are falling. So you're getting much more value for the money you spend. Increasingly, AI in education is multimodal. It's not just text, it's not just images, it's not just video. It's speech and any possible way you can interact with content. When I say tuning of models, I mean optimizing models so they're better for educational contexts, such as what you saw with Khan Migo. You're going to see more and more of that to make these tools better for education. You're going to see more AI in curriculums. You're going to see more schools around the world integrating AI into all their subjects to make students and teachers aware of how it is relevant to their future. You're going to find that more and more schools are going to be training their teachers directly on understanding AI and how to use it. And ultimately, I think even though schools are hesitant today to set an official policy on where to use AI and where not to use it because it's so new and they're trying to understand it. But I think pretty soon schools will start converging on official policies on how it affects assessments, how students are allowed to use it, how teachers are allowed to use it, and to move towards certain best practices. But it's a very exciting time in history because so much is changing. There's a chance to develop expertise in something that's very relevant. And I think we're all coming together to figure out the best way to make it useful for everyone. So with that, I'll bring my general session on creating awareness on this topic to an end. And I hope you found it informative and useful. And I'm looking forward to any questions you guys might have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jazib. It's very interesting topic, and also thank you to help us on understanding on the very rapid development on AI. And now it's about the generative AI, and I really yeah, we always saw, or we will find, for example, the image of the hamster eating pizza. So I think most of us have tried that the application on yeah, just to play around, and we can see the differences between how we prompt and the results from our prompt. So to continue with our understanding on how about the awareness of generative I would like to invite our second speaker for today. Let me introduce first our second speaker. Before that, thank you very much, Mr. Jazib, again. For the second speaker, we would like to invite Mr. Zainal bin Abbas. And Mr. Zainal is the director of the Bahagian Sumber and Teknologi Pendidikan, Educational Resources and Technology Division at the Ministry of Education Malaysia. In this capacity, he oversees the implementation of the Digital Educational Learning Initiative Malaysia, or we call it as a DELIMA, which aims to enhance digital learning across the country. His efforts focus on integrating educational technology to improve the quality and accessibility of education for students and teachers, especially in the rural areas. So under his leadership, the division has successfully increased the digital competence of educators and expanded digital infrastructure in school. Mr. Zainal has been instrumental in the rollout of the digital education policy, which addresses critical areas such as digital fluency among students, digital competency among educators, visionary digital leadership, and quality digital content. So his work also includes initiatives to reduce the digital divide between urban and rural students by enhancing resources at teacher activity centers and ensuring internet connectivity across educational institutions. So without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Zainal. Mr. Zainal, the floor is
Yes,
yours.
yes, Azli. Can you hear me? Can you
Yes,
hear
we
me?
can hear you. Yeah, yeah.
All right. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good morning to everyone. Thank you for the opportunity from SEAMEO SEN for me to do a little bit of presentation on generative AI in education. As mentioned by Dr. Azli earlier, that Malaysia has rolled out our digital education policy end of last year, and of course it covers all the spectrum and the stakeholders involved in education in Malaysia, the students, the teachers, the school administrators, the infrastructure, the content itself, as well as our engagement with the parents, with the community, the NGOs, as well as government agencies, and all the respective bodies which are involved with education in Malaysia. My colleague, I believe, will have a session to explain further on that. I'll very quickly go through the slides because I have about like 28 slides to go through. So I'm going to speak very quickly. We're going to have a question answer session later for you to also ask some question related. Can we go to the second slide? Yeah, just a little bit of introduction on what is generative AI, but the speaker before me has already explained to you on generative AI. Basically, it's any type of artificial intelligence that can produce new text, image, videos, audio clips. AI also learns pattern from training data and generates new and unique outputs. Generative AI as well models use prompts to guide content generation and use transfer learning to become more proficient. But of course, nowadays, the artificial intelligence can actually learn from all the data available to them and provide guidance to the users on the respective topics. Next slide. Very quickly, going to the next slide. if you look at the picture over there, it's actually generated by Canva. Canva, in which the slides have been made with, also have generative AI embedded in it, in that it can suggest to the users what to use. But basically, innovation in the field of AI continue to shape the future of humanity across every industry, including in education. And AI is already the main driver of emerging technologies like big data, robotics, Internet of Things, and generative AI has further expanded the possibility and popularity of the use of AI. Of course, the main focus in the Ministry of Education is to look at connectivity and infrastructure, because that is our biggest challenge right now, to ensure that all our students has connectivity, especially when they are in school. The availability of infrastructure, the devices to be made available to the students. We also look at the content available for the students to learn online. So learning is not only about going to school and attending classes, but access to education should be made available for them at any time and at any place. That is why in Malaysia we have developed our digital learning platform called the Lima, which enables the students to have access to education at anywhere and at any time. And we also look at the personalized learning. We look at teachers' competency, as well as AI literacy and ethical use. AI, we know since 2023 has become the main focus everywhere in all industries, which is available. The image mentioned there is prompted through Canva, but as you can see, the images of the people there are basically faceless. It's like a cartoon kind of thing. But there is an AI for image in Malaysia. It is called Pixlr, Pixlr. It's available on our Delima platform, and they will actually have better image than this one over here. So with Pixlr, students or teachers or the users can actually access, and they have AI generator, image generator embedded inside Pixlr, and you can actually generate pictures very easily. You can just type in, for example, girl on a bicycle, and an image of a girl, a near-like image of a human the girl actually on a bicycle. And you can even add more descriptive to help AI generate image. So you can add, for example, girl on a bicycle with a red balloon, and the image of a girl on a bicycle on a red balloon would appear. And if you don't like, the AI can actually generate more and more images according to your liking for you to choose. Okay, very quickly, next slide. This is on our digital education policy. As I've mentioned earlier, we have 6 trusts focusing on digital fluent students, digital competency of students, of teachers, because for the students to be fluent, the teacher, first of all, have to be competent. We look at visionary digital leadership culture. The school principals, the school headmasters have to be also on board with this, in which they will have to give the support to the teachers as well as the students in creating that digital culture in school. I've touched on the infrastructure and infrastructure, the content, as well as the strategic partners which we have in our digital education policy. I think throughout the seminar, my colleague will explain in depth on our digital education policy. So we'll go to the next slide. This is just an elaboration of our digital education policy, in which, apart from the 6 trusts, we also look at creating creativity or generating creativity and innovation thinking among the children, analytic data scientifically to be also embedded in our digital education policy. Problem solving, ethical communication, and collaboration is another element in which we focus on. So it's not just delivering the subjects like mathematics, science, history, and so on, but also the skills like creative and innovative thinking, analyzing and using the data to provide with the proper decision making, problem solving, as well as effective communication are areas in character building, in which we also stress on in our digital education policy. I mentioned about the digital learning platform. Next slide, please, which is called the Lima. So in the Lima, we work with our partners from Google, from Microsoft, as well as from Apple, but mainly with Google to develop our the Lima platform with our Google Classroom. And we do have AI in it. And if you go to the next slide. When we look at AI, what is in AI? Just now, our earlier speaker spoke on Kanmingo. If you look to the right-hand side, the logo with the green Khan Academy, that's the Khan Academy. So it's also embedded in our the Lima platform. So if you look at this slide, these are actually the AI tools available for teachers to actually help them in their learning in classroom. So we have Gemini AI, we have ChatGPT, we have Conquer AI, which is a platform to create and generate questions for teachers. Text Project, Perplexity, MS Copilot is there, Bing Image Generator is there, Pixar AI Image Generator, the one I mentioned earlier, is also there, and we also have Claude. So it is available there in our digital learning platform, and it will depend on the teachers to actually choose which one is more suitable for you. For what do you call it, Gemini, for example, I think our speaker before has spoken very deeply on Kanmingo through the Khan Academy. But basically, through Gemini AI, for example, we recently launched with our Google partners the Gemini AI Academy to help our teachers fully understand how to utilize Gemini in their daily activities, as well as in generating lesson plans, generating questions, and so on. But Gemini AI, for example, can generate lesson plans for teachers. Plus, there's a way in which you can also source outside material. So if you need videos, if you need worksheets, there's a Google logo in which it will access information or data which are available of our digital learning platform. Perplexity is slightly different. Perplexity will give you the lesson plan, for example, when you prompt it, but to the side of the lesson plan, there will be recommendation videos, there will be recommendation worksheets in which teachers can choose from. As compared to Gemini earlier, which I mentioned, it will give you the lesson plan, and at the end will have available for you the outside resources. So it depends on which platform the teachers would be comfortable in using in order for them to use in their daily lives. But when you look at the AI, basically, strategies in our Malaysian education system. If we go to the next slide, it helps, number one, as mentioned by our earlier speaker, to personalize learning, in which it can be based on student competency and the various level of learning in which they are at. As we know, students learn with the different ability. Some would be faster to adapt. Some would need the image like graphs, statistics to help them understand. Some would prefer to look at videos or read comics in order for them to understand. For example, on the topic of financial literacy, for example. So in order to provide this personalized learning in our digital education platform, we provide the contents which the students can choose from in order for them to pick the best method in which will help facilitate their learning. Of course, we have our intelligent learning tools as well, AI powered. Earlier last month with Microsoft, Microsoft has handed over the learning modules for teachers as well as for students on using Microsoft AI tools. So it is available for our teachers as well as our students to go through via our Lima platform. Of course, AI-powered assessment and feedback is also available through our digital learning platform. It is very easy now with the help of AI, generative AI, for our teachers to actually provide or generate assessment models in which they can use to help the teachers. I will give you examples further on, including generating questions on higher order thinking skill. Earlier, I mentioned Conquer, which we have on our digital learning platform. That is also available, but AIs like Gemini, I think Khan Academy was mentioned earlier, also have the same ability. Next slide, please. This is only slide number 9. Okay, I've got 20 more slides. Very quickly, looking at strategies for our Malaysian education system, teacher training and support is very important. To date, with the help of Google, over 2.5 million teachers have already been trained on the use of our Google learning platform. With Apple schools, they are planning to train 100,000 teachers, with another 1,000 to be trained as learning coach, or the teacher experts who will actually guide our Apple teachers. And with Microsoft also, Microsoft educators are also part of the programs to help our teachers gain knowledge. But of course, when we talk about Khan Minggu, the Khan Academy just now also have various courses, especially on AI, to help teachers understand and learn how to use AI to help them with their lessons in class. So throughout the Lima platform, actually, we have quite a number of items available for our teachers. Of course, the focus on accessibility and equity, I've already mentioned, which is very important. I'm very quickly going to give you some examples by our teachers. This is the one I mentioned when we launched the Gemini AI Academy. Can we go to the next slide? This is an example of a teacher from Bukit Tinggi. GEG is actually the Google Educator Group. And of course, with Gemini unleashing creativity in lesson planning and question generation. If we go at the next slide, we can see the actual program. So what the teacher does is she logged into our Delima platform, click on the AI. Next slide. And just look at Gemini. Next slide. So all she did was she typed in the prompter, saya guru science, I'm a science teacher level. She's teaching the 16-year-old in Form 4 in Malaysia. So asking Gemini to actually provide the lesson plan for science and activity for a classroom lesson for 1 hour. So she actually used her handphone to help provide those data. And immediately it was generated at the bottom there. So the lesson plan is already there. The topic is science, Form 4. Next slide. Here's another example in which she used Gemini to actually generate questions. So it helps her not only to create the lesson plan, but also to create worksheets for her classroom. And I mentioned the outside source. If you look at the bottom half of the table there on Gemini platform, you can see the Google logo. So you click on that Google logo, it will actually go to the outside resources, the videos, the worksheets, and all the other supporting activities which will be available for the teachers. Now, this is in Gemini. I mentioned on Perplexity is slightly different. Perplexity to the left, to the right-hand side, they will provide recommendations on the various videos, worksheets, and so on. Next slide. So what she did once she had the question was that to transfer it to a Google Sheet. So she transfers it to a Google Sheet. Next slide. From the Google Sheet, she goes to her Google Classroom and assign the task for the students to actually perform the assignment online. So our digital learning platform actually provides the teacher with the opportunity as well as the student to use this Google Classroom to generate activities. So teachers post the questions provided for the whole class. The students can actually perform the activity online and resubmit to the teacher to actually gain feedback and to be marked. Next slide. So this is another topic, just another example by the teachers teaching science for third former. And of course, talking on the third chapter, bab 3 itu menerangkan tentang kumpulan darah, the blood types. Next slide, please. Right, so this is how it helps her, the teacher just now, increase efficiency, personalized learning, tailor-made materials for individual student need, enhance learning, cultivate higher order thinking skills among students, as well as inquiry-based learning, develop students who are inquisitive. Now, the good thing, I'm not promoting Gemini, there's so many other platforms like Kanmingo available online, but with Gemini, the lesson plans also recommend the teachers what to do. Okay, for the more advanced student, this is what you can do. These are activities which can help enhance their learning. For the slightly slower one, these are the activities you can recommend. And based on the questions generated on the worksheet, the teachers will actually have a dashboard to help and analyze the questions, for example, to see how many students got question 1 right, how many got question 1 wrong, so that once they are able to analyze the strength or weakness of the students, then they can diagnose what activity further needed by the students actually to do their work. Just another example, next slide. This is by Mr. Tipan of SK Setia Alam. Go to the next slide. He mentioned that through the use of, next slide please, the use of Gemini helps to teachers like him to save time in order to generate high order thinking skills, project-based learning, class-based assessment, as well as management and administrative tool. Next slide. Here's an example of what he did. This is an example of higher order thinking skill questions for history for the primary 4, that's the 9-year-old. So basically, he just prompt Gemini on generating the question. And as you can see, it is not in English. It is in the Malay language, which is the medium for our schools in Malaysia. So Gemini is able to comprehend the Malay language as well, but it is not only limited to English, Malay, it is also available in Tamil. Go to the next slide. So that particular teacher, Tiban, is also teaching the Tamil language. So here, he, with the help of Gemini, he generate HOTS question in Bahasa Tamil, the Tamil language for year 5 students, the 11-year-old. But there is still a need, of course, for the teachers to actually verify the questions in order for them to ensure that it is in line with our national curriculum. That is a very important part for the teacher. Go to the next slide. This is also how AI can help them in creating project-based learning. So he just posts a picture of a school, the front of a school, and the students will actually gather information related to the schools by exploring on the internet and gathering information. So that is also available on learning. Next slide, we look at how the AI can help assist in yearly planning. So this is the yearly plan for the school sports day. So it's very easy kan, kepada guru-guru di Malaysia sangat mudah untuk menyediakan kertas cadangan. Misalnya you type in kertas cadangan itu, the proposal will include the background, the objectives, and so on. So it's very easy for teachers. Go to the next slide. Example on how the paperwork or proposal paper can be assisting them. Program Gotong Royong, of course, there's a presentation by the teacher. Jadual perjalanan ladap, pengisian jamuan akhir tahun. So all these activities actually, by using Gemini, I think they can easily create that working paper or proposal paper to help in their presentation. Go to the next slide. This is another example by a teacher. Now this is for this teacher is teaching the special needs students, the slow learners in the school. And what she does is actually she's using Read Along. Read Along is a platform available on our Dilemma platform with Google for Education. It is available, I think, worldwide, read along, to help improve the students' reading ability. There are other components or AI which helps in the learning. For example, Microsoft, I think they have Microsoft Learning Progress. In Khan Academy, I believe Khan Mingo also have some reading AI to help students in their reading skills. Go to the next slide. I'm not sure about whether this will be available, but can you click on the video? It should be able to run. It's only a 3
Teachers
minutes
often
video.
face challenges in assessing students'
Have I
reading
opened
levels using traditional methods. One-to-one sessions are time-consuming, and it's difficult to determine the suitability of books for each student's level, especially for those with special educational needs. Moreover, there's no clear record to refer to, making it hard for teachers and parents to track progress. This hinders teachers from monitoring and motivating students to keep reading. Now, the Read Along app is here to solve these problems by providing thousands of well-illustrated stories at various levels. Students read by pronouncing each word and earn points in the form of stars based on their reading level and duration. If there are any pronunciation mistakes, the app corrects them. Students can also click on words to hear the correct pronunciation. The app offers interactive questions to assess students' comprehension. The Read Along app is now integrated with Google Classroom, making it easier for teachers to monitor students' reading. Teachers can assign tasks directly in Google Classroom by selecting the books for students to read. Teachers and parents can track students' reading progress and quality through detailed summary reports provided by the app. Students are excited and motivated to read with Read Along. The interactive features and rewarding system make reading a fun and engaging activity. Watch as they explore new stories and improve their reading skills with joy. Read Along is a web-based application and can also be downloaded from the Google Play Store for Android users. This allows students to practice reading anywhere, whether at schools or at home. So, what are you waiting for? Download the Read Along app now and start enhancing your students' reading experience.
Okay, can we pause the video? Right, can we go back to the slides? Yeah, so it's the final slide actually. But I would just like to mention, those are examples available for Gemini. Of course, on our Dilemma platform, we have so many other AIs. So all teachers need to do is actually to explore all the AIs available on the Dilemma platform and to actually choose the best suited for them and the most helpful for them to use. In the reading program just now, Google has their Read Along, but Microsoft, we also have on our Dilemma platform the Microsoft Reading Progress via MS Teams. In which teachers can also access similar programs for helping students learn to read or improve their learning ability. Through Khan Academy, I also believe they have various application or games in which the students can perform, actually undergo and helps improve their learning as well, including in the areas of vocabulary, grammar, as well as language arts, as they mentioned in Khan Academy. So it's available online. There's a vast amount of resources available for teachers Most of them are already embedded in our Delima platform, but if you don't have Delima, you can't access Delima in your country. You have it available online as well for you to access. Now, apart from what we have shown with AI, the system itself is also very important. I just give example of mathematics. For example, students learn to add, to subtract, and to divide. So if they complete a module on addition, for example, then there will be some exercises tailored for them. And based on the exercises, for example, there's 25 exercises in which students will have to go through. After the 25 exercises, based on how fast the student answer, how many correct, which question correct, AI or generative AI will be able to actually generate a recommendation. Okay, for student A, here's another 25 questions to help in your understanding of addition. For student B, they might say, okay, you don't need any more questions, you can go to the next chapter. For student C, here's another 10 questions in which maybe in the first round you get some answers wrong in certain area. So here's another 10 question on higher order thinking skills, for example, to help your understanding and your ability to have that solve the problem of higher order thinking skills. So those are some of the powers of generative AI right now. And it is also important that through the use of generative AI, the system will learn the learning style of the student in order to help personalize learning for that particular student, and also to recommend the additional materials which will help enhance the learner's understanding and ability to progress very quickly according to the syllabus provided. So I think that's me for now. Thank you very much. I'm open to question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zainal, for the very insightful sharing session, and it is a very interesting example for the and it is an eye opener for those who are very new to AI or generative AI, which is AI can really help us to improve our daily tasks, especially for teachers, and not only for teachers but also for the students. And yeah, the AI also multi-language, like mentioned by Mr. Zainal just now. And I think we have a very limited time, so we have a lot of questions for those for both Mr. Jazib and Mr. Zainal, but I only can allow two questions. First question from Dolores, Philippines, to Mr. Jazib. Um, Generative AI is growing in education, so it's important to know how to use it well. How can generative AI be implemented in education effectively, and what are the key challenges to address in this process? So, maybe within 30 seconds or 1 minute to answer this.
Sure. Thank you so much for asking this question. I think this is something we're all trying to figure out. My general guidance would be encourage students to stay independent and to use the AI tools for support, like tutors, and to get feedback on things where they might not be getting enough within the existing resources, but not to become dependent on them. And for the teachers, it's a way to kind of ramp up on knowledge in new areas and to do administrative tasks and maybe some of their grunt work in more efficient ways. So I would say for teachers, it's to kind of allow them to reassign their own time to more value added stuff. And for students, it's to get feedback and to not become dependent on it. That would be my general guidance.
Thank you very much for the response, Mr. Jazib. We have another question, but for this one for Mr. Zainal from Mawa 86. So the question is, good policies are needed to guide the use of generative AI in all areas. In your opinion, what are the recommended policies that the Southeast Asian government should implement to ensure development of ethics and generative AI not only in education but throughout all sectors? You are mute, Mr. Zainal.
Can you unmute me? Somebody's control. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, you can hear me now, right? Okay, let me just address the first question. When we talk about materials to use, it is also very important that before we allow wholesome use of I think the most important thing is for us to actually inculcate the ethics of using AI. That is very important. In Malaysia, with our digital education platform, what we're doing is we're working with our partners, with Google, with Microsoft, with Apple, as well as with Intel, to develop modules on ethical use of AI. So before we allow the students to actually use the AI, we educate them on the ethical use. And I mentioned in my presentation as well that the AI has to be also in line with our national curriculum. Of course, they have that ability through our Delima platform. What they do, first of all, the AI, we are trying to get the AI to get the information which are available on Delima first, to ensure that it is in line with our national curriculum. And I also mentioned that teachers actually will have to have proper verification or to verify the informations available to them or generated by the AI, to ensure that it is in line with the national syllabus and it is in line with what is supposed to be understood by the students. Now, question two, good policies needed to guide the use of generative AI in all areas. Recommended policies for Southeast Asia. In fact, in Southeast Asia, I think we are working very closely through SEAMEO for innovation. We are working with SEAMEO Innotech. It is based in the Philippines. I think some of my friends are also online here with our SEAMEO SEN session. But SEAMEO Innotech can play a very vital role in helping all the Southeast Asian countries or Southern Asian countries with the implementation and the policies. Malaysia is always welcome to share our experience, as well as to work together with other countries to further develop policies on the rollout of the use of generative AI, for example, in education. But it is not just about generative AI. When we talk about taxonomy of education 4.0 or the digital education policy, we have to look at other things which I mentioned earlier, like character building, problem solving, which are elements which are very important. Innovation needs to be embedded in learning as well. And all that actually can be easily accessible through our Delima platform. So Malaysia, we are open for you to come and visit us, and for us to share some of our best practices, as well as how we have developed and working very well with the giants in Google, Microsoft, Apple, Intel, to name a few.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Zainal. We really want to invite everyone to come to Malaysia to have a look and how Malaysia implement the AI in the recent program. And I'm so sorry to all our speakers because we have a very limited time. And thank you very much for all the questions. We only can entertain 2 questions. You may post your question on the chat box of Facebook and YouTube, so we will forward your questions to those speakers. And thank you very much for the session 1. And back to you, Mr. MC, Mr. Nine.
Thank you, Dr. Adlis and our esteemed speakers, for the wonderful session packed with a lot of information. Too bad that we have little time, but we had too much to share. Okay, now let's move on to session 2. We have here with us today Dr. Bala Murali, a science specialist from SEAMEO Wrexham, all the way from the northern part of Peninsular Malaysia, from the state of Penang. So allow me to introduce a little bit of Dr. Bala profile. He's currently serving as the science specialist in the South Asian Ministers of Education Organization, Regional Center for Education in Science and Mathematics, in short, SEAMEO SEN. With 19 years of teaching experience in physics and science, Dr. Bala is an accomplished educator with a PhD in science education, specializing in educational neuroscience and physics education. His career includes extensive experience as physics and science teacher, during which designed and implemented innovative curriculum materials and mentored students in both academic and extracurricular activities. Currently, Dr. Bala conducts cutting-edge research on AI-driven personalized learning and develop advanced educational methodologies to enhance science education. Dr. Bala's work is characterized by a strong foundation in educational neuroscience, a commitment to integrating AI in education, and collaborative approach to advancing the field. May I now invite Dr. Bala to take over in moderating the session. Dr. Bala, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zulkarnain. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. So welcome to our session on highlighting teachers' competencies and standards in integrating AI into education. It's an absolute pleasure to have you all here as we delve into a topic that is timely and transformative for the future of education. So as we stand on the brink of new era, integrating artificial intelligence in education is reshaping how we teach, learn, and grow. So this session aims to spotlight the essential competencies and standards to our educators needed to effectively harness the power of AI. So we will explore how AI can be a catalyst for innovation, creating more personalized and efficient learning experiences, and what it takes for teachers to thrive in this evolving landscape. So without further ado, let me introduce our first speaker, Ms. Hani Mazari. So Hani Mazari is EdTech Hub's Asia Lead and Digital Personalized Learning Focal Point. In her role, she collaborates with decision makers across South and Southeast Asia to promote evidence-based approaches to the use of educational technology, particularly in low-resource settings and emergency contexts. Hani's effort focus on integrating digital personalized learning to enhance education accessibility and quality in challenging environments. So before joining EdTech Hub, Hani worked as a strategy consultant in the development sector, where she supported projects addressing education, inclusion, and public health in South Asia and East Africa. She also has experience as an EdTech content developer, creating learning solutions for blended learning in low-tech contexts. So Hani holds Master of Science in Social and Cultural Psychology from the London School of Economics and Bachelor of Arts in History and Politics from the School of Oriental and African Studies. Her diverse background includes growing up in multiple countries such as Pakistan, Turkey, the UAE, Singapore, and England. So now please join me in welcoming Ms. Hani Mazari. So the floor is yours, Ms. Hani Mazari.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bala. Thank you, and great to meet you. I think when I heard your bio, I was excited to learn from you as well. So I hope we have an opportunity to do that. I'm just going to share my screen so you can have a look at the presentation that I have prepared, and hopefully, okay. Can everyone see? All good with the tech? Fabulous. Can everyone see my screen? Wait.
Not yet, Mr. Zed.
Okay, let me just try that again. Okay. Tech malfunction. This is why we always need to.
Yeah, we can see now.
Integrating new technologies. Okay, fantastic. Can everyone see now?
Yes, it's good.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Bala. So, today I want to tell you a little bit about what we do at EdTech Hub and how that we seek to shape the sector as we go forward around exploring the use of AI in education. We are a global research partnership. We bring evidence to action and really work deep in implementing partners across the world with the goal of empowering people to give them the evidence they need to make decisions about technology and education. Now, technology, we've gone into a lot of the potentials of AI, but just a few decades back, we've been thinking about other aspects of edtech and the potential that edtech has to address the global learning crisis. And we found that that potential was not being realized because there's a lot of investments being made in technology without sufficient evidence about what might work, what might not work. And therefore, we had a lot of investments in hardware being made across the world, and in devices that eventually became obsolete. And policy makers and decision makers face an overwhelming choice of edtech solutions. It's sometimes like a market space, right, where different providers are coming to you, and it really helps to know what may or may not work, and therefore to generate more evidence as you're trying and testing to help iterate the different innovations that we're grappling with. So in working, with different forms of edtech for the past few years, we have accrued a set of evidence on digital personalized learning, girls' education, teacher professional development, participation and messaging, which is all around nudge technologies, and finally, data for decision making. Now, I'm telling you a bit about this because, yes, the world of AI is something new to some of us, right? To an extent, the tool has become more sophisticated. The predictions are becoming more sophisticated. However, when I was back at the University of Tsukuba with many of you in the room right now on an event co-hosted by the SEAMEO Secretariat on the use of generative AI, I remember this moment where a lot of people in the room had this aha moment where they thought, oh, AI is simply another tech tool. There's such a hype. How do we get through the noise and really think about what could work? It's another range of tools that, educationists can work with, that decision makers can work with to enhance education. So for me, this moment was really important because it provided an opportunity to really right-size the use of edtech the use of AI while it holds a lot of potential. There's a lot of existing evidence we can kind of use to inform these pathways of decision-making. So in doing so, we at EdTech Hub started thinking through, we worked through a wealth of policy documents across Asia and Africa because we focus on, low to middle income countries. And we came up with these guiding questions for AI integration in education. And as you can see, these questions are multifaceted, right? On one hand, we talk about this overarching layer that has been touched upon by, Mr. Zainal and Mr. Jazib earlier around security, around infrastructure, around governance. And then there's, very education and capacity specific aspect around nurturing talent, around promoting equitable access to AI and different technologies, and around local solutions. Now, there's a whole variety of ways that countries are approaching these different things. Around security, finding that right size checks and balance between innovation and between, actually regulation and figuring out how to best use a particular tool. And I know across the region of Southeast Asia, so many different countries have developed some sort of stance on AI or are in the process of developing different stances. Like I know across Malaysia, Thailand, and the Philippines, there's been a focus on how to build enhanced capacity and nurture talents around AI, how students can be taught about AI in the classroom, how they can be ready for the, for the workforce as they, enter this ever-changing world. And then I know in Singapore and in Vietnam, there have been different ideas on how to use AI that have been more integrated in policy. I know other countries are experimenting as well, but on how to use it to support teaching and learning. And, so there's many different ways and dimensions we're approaching AI. And I think from the previous presentations, we've explored some of the use cases and how AI can be used to grapple with, help teachers manage their workload, to help the system overcome some challenges as well, to help teachers with lesson planning, and then also, to help students with more personalized levels of feedback. So there are many different use cases. But really, again, going back to the security, infrastructure, and governance and nurturing talents, and acknowledging that some of that is being approached through policy. And then there's a lot we can do to really deepen our understanding of access and local solutions. And this is something I hope we can start to do together. I think it's going to be it's going to be a journey ahead, but let's start that by thinking about how we're going to be promoting equitable access for AI in our country. How are we promoting and integrating local solutions for innovations in the edtech, in the education sector? And this is not so much about the actual technologies, even when we think about access. I want to zoom a bit. Now let's think about how is AI expected to evolve the role of a teacher? And this, comes from a paper developed by Mehta and Kumar. And as they said, as AI takes on more instructional tasks, the role of a teacher in the classroom evolves from being knowledge disseminators to facilitators of learning. So, as the examples that were highlighted in the previous session around automating administrative tasks, this hopefully will allow teachers to invest more time in student mentoring or providing personalized guidance or fostering critical thinking through introducing a growth mindset, which can also be supported through AI. But the real thing is that educators will continue to play a critical role in nurturing a social-emotional environment for the ethical use of AI, but also for their students generally. However, there are a lot of concerns that we're seeing commonly surfacing across the world. Teachers are wondering, and they wondered some of the same things when, edtech or personalized learning technologies were introduced to the classroom, around whether their job would be at threat, around whether students would have more access to information than they do, whether their students are going to be plagiarizing, and how to manage this new level of access to information and how that informs the different submissions that students are making. And finally, some teachers are also left wondering, what is AI? So there's really a wealth of questions in this space. And the concerns that emerge from these are something that we need to engage with. Because at EdTech Hub, what we've seen is that concerns often lead to barriers. It's not just about access to technology, as I said. So concerns about balancing EdTech with EdTech implementation with teachers' workload in digital personalized learning implementations that we've researched has led to low teacher buy-in in the use of EdTech. Fear of being replaced by technology has also led to low teacher buy-in. And finally, frustrations from tech-related challenges that are posed by, one, not knowing how to operate the equipment or the technology, or two, just having, an infrastructural mismatch where perhaps the infrastructural realities you're faced with, having limited internet access or patchy electricity may grapple from the use of the technology that you're meant to implement. So what we know is that these capacity challenges can exacerbate attitudinal barriers that can prevent the use of EdTech. So that's more broad. But now let's get a little more specific, right? Let's think about the world of AI and how that might be. What are some different considerations we need to think about? Digital divide is still one aspect, and I'm even though it is still relevant to, and as you can see, actually many of these aspects are still relevant because the digital divide will shape how a teacher thinks about a particular technology and has experienced using it. For example, in Kuala Lumpur, where a teacher has heard a lot more about ChatGPT, is using it at their fingertips. As an individual, they might have more easier access points to using it as an educator as well. Now, it also varies on subject matter knowledge. And this goes back to the point made earlier, where generative AI still requires a human to fact check it. Still requires a human to understand the right syntax, to know that a hamster cannot be eaten by pizza. So you still require that subject matter knowledge. So it's not that just because generative AI is in the picture that we can stop subject-specific teacher training or other important aspects for continuous teacher professional development. These are all still critical and remain critical because AI is just a tool. Now, finally, the social-cultural background of an individual is also going to affect how their uptake of the different technologies. Some cultures are more concerned about the risks of technology and specifically AI. And it does, there are several risks that we could be exposing ourselves to, whereas other cultures are more in line with innovating quickly and finding out what works and what didn't later. So it's really about striking that right balance through policy. But what I will really say is, if we reflect on teachers' attitudes towards AI, then we can engage with and propose relevant solutions. Because if you know that subject matter knowledge is a big gap, then you can think about ways to support teachers on knowing how to fact check AI, knowing that they need to fact check AI, realizing that this remains a priority. Whereas if social cultural background is a big prohibitor, then it's really engaging with their concerns and thinking through communication strategies to make sure that they're bought into the process. Because what we've seen not work time and time again at EdTech Hub is when a huge investment is made in even a digital learning platform, and teachers aren't being told on how exactly they're meant to use it, what the opportunities are, how it integrates into the classroom for them, then it all falls apart. They're not going to use it. So it's really about tying that all together. So what I propose is just a very simple approach, actually, to really connect whatever innovations we're grappling with to the school level by performing at the first hand, very rapid research, figure out what kind of barriers teachers are facing, if any. There will be some, what are their concerns? Engage with that, create a space for them to really bring their grievances to the table. And now finally, then you can start to identify and train champion teachers. Think about which teachers are actually leading the charge, because as colleagues before said, there are going to be a lot of teachers who are already experimenting with AI in the classroom and thinking through different strategies. They can actually start leading a culture of change if they have found out different ways that work for them in their particular context. So they can be identified and trained and then support a community of practice that can be led at different levels at the school level. But then also it's very important to have things at the more wider country level to bring together different levels of knowledge, different insights to make sure that it's more cohesive and more equitable. Now, finally, with any innovation, we need to keep collecting feedback. We need to keep iterating, because earlier we were talking about the different biases that AI can help promote further. We need to gather more data and feedback from this region, because right now what we have is that these AI tools are being developed by vast amounts of data from the global north, so from Europe, from America, and therefore there's a certain culture and there's certain lens through which one person sees the world, and certain worldview that's being supported through different generative AI tools. So it's up to us to really collect data to help challenge that and to help make sure that it can be a very localized solution and something that is relevant to your teachers, which it can be, because as colleagues discussed earlier, AI holds a lot of promise. So not to deter anyone from innovation, but really to explore the different pathways that we can enhance the implementation of these new technologies into the classroom to align with teacher competencies, and therefore to develop some standards, not just for teachers, but actually for ourselves as we experiment. So I will leave it there. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Dr. Bala.
Okay, so thank you very much, Ms. Hani. So we saw that at Tech Hub, they have a good guiding questions for AI integration, the signal formula for them. At the same time, she raised a few things like teachers, we still have some threat. They're thinking that AI might be a threat for them. And they are having a fear of being replaced by technology. But actually, AI is here to help them, and they can spend more time on mentoring the students, actually. Okay, so thank you so much, Ms. Nazari, for the enlightening perspective. So we move on to our next speaker, Professor Roberto Area. Professor Roberto Area is a distinguished professor at the University of Chile, specializing in electrical engineering and STEM education. He holds a PhD in electrical engineering from the University of California, Los Angeles, At the Center of Advanced Research in Education, his work focused on developing and measuring the impact of innovative teaching and learning strategies in STEM education. Professor Araya has led numerous educational projects funded by prestigious organizations such as the Scientific and Technological Development Support Fund, a program that is managed by the National Commission of Scientific and Technological Research, the Inter-American Development Bank, IDB, and the Canadian International Development Research Centre, IDRC. His contribution to the field have been internationally recognized, earning him awards like the Best Paper Award at the 10th International Conference on Web-Based Learning, ICWL 2011, and the Best Poster Award at the 12th European Conference on Technology Enhanced Learning, ECTEL 2017. His research emphasizes the integration of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEM, disciplines to address real-world problems, enhancing both the emotional and motivational dimensions of student learning. Prof. Araya advocates for more connected and applied approach to STEM education, aiming to equip students with the skills necessary for the challenges of the 21st century learning. So please give a warm welcome to Professor Roberto Araya. So the floor is yours. To you, Professor.
Good morning, Dr. Bala. Good morning, everyone. So thank you very much for this introduction. I want to thank also to the director, Jamila Kadir, for the invitation to participate in this Congress. So I'm going to share my screen. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, Prof. Okay.
Oh, great. So I'm going to focus more on teachers. We have seen a lot of great ideas. We have an incredible time, but I'm focusing more on teacher competencies and what teachers should know in order to be able to use this technology. Okay, let's move. Something happened. I cannot advance. I don't know what happened, but okay, here we are. You know, we have in these last years, we have seen the performance of AI. This is Stanford AI Index, and we see this a human baseline here. And there are different tests like vision, competence, reasoning, image classification, computational mathematics. Even it's getting close to the human baseline. So this is really incredible. So we are kind of in a Sputnik moment now. The world is going to change radically and very fast. So it's an exciting moment. And this is this year, according to Leopold Aschenbrenner, that he was from OpenAI. Right now, this generative AI is like a smart high schooler. In a couple of years, it's going to be like a research engineer. So it's big change. So what are the opportunities? And then I will talk about some challenges. You know, from the point of view of a teacher, this is a wonderful tool to identify core ideas before teaching a class. Also can give you ideas how to teach them. So you have a GPT or Gemini has a counselor, as an expert that can you give incredible ideas. Also, what misconceptions are the typical in this area? How to handle them? What are the effective analogies? And also help in design lesson plans, something that some of the speakers already talked. And analyze lesson plans, but I'm going to concentrate in two of these ones that I think are more rather new, interesting, and different from the previous ones. Is lesson analysis from a video transcription, and second, I'm going to talk about assessment to open questions. You know, now we can go to finally get rid of on only multiple choice question to open question. But this is a lot of work. But now AI can help us to analyze this, the answers to open questions. So first, I'm going to do lesson analysis. Here is For me, it was a shock, like 15 years ago in the University of Tsukuba, seeing this lesson study, lesson. And here is automatic machine learning in the time saying what part of the lesson that the teacher was presenting, and what part of the section of the lesson from time 0 to time 50 or 60 the teacher was just guiding. So automatically the machine is able to know what's going on in the lesson. And here is a lesson I taught in 2014, and this is the University of Tsukuba. Was about forest fire lesson. And I'm going to use this lesson that I taught at the University of Tsukuba. That's me there. This is the University of Tsukuba High School Associated. And and here was the lesson after I took this lesson was the lesson analysis. Here is Professor Masami Soda from the University of Tsukuba and several other panelists analyzing the lesson. I was very fortunate to have a very high qualified expert analyzing my lesson, how I taught to the kids. But now let's see what generative AI can do. This is Gemini. So I have a transcription of the lesson. It's longer, but here's just Professor Sakamoto introduced me, and then Professor Araya started. Good afternoon. My name is Roberto Araya. Can you repeat my name? And the student says Roberto Araya, and then it goes on. So now I have a prompt. Describe in no more than 200 words in English analysis of the strengths and weaknesses regarding dialogic interactions, teaching of STEM modeling strategies, the exploratory and inquiry component, and the objectives mentioned below of the following transcript. So here it produces immediately to me the strength of the dialogic interaction, the teaching modeling strategies I use, the exploratory and inquiry components, and clear objectives. So immediately I would get a feedback of my whole lesson as I thought, and the weakness. It says, for example, simplicity of the model. And that I agree that the model is simple because I didn't have much time. You don't really say it's limited time. The class has limit only 45 minutes, so was short. I couldn't go to more deeper model. And also it says, another weakness, lack of context. I too quickly introduced this problem of forest fire without talking too much to Chile, and these were Japanese students. But I have a new prompt. Describe how many open questions Professor Araya asked and what the students' responses were like. And immediately it says, okay, number of questions. I had 32 open questions. And also it classifies comprehension question, analysis question, evaluation question, creativity questions. And here are the examples of comprehensive question. What do you think we need to design the drone systems that will allow us to detect the forest fires? Here are some analysis questions. What strategy can we use to control the fire? Evaluation questions, and also creativity questions. What else can you think of what we could include to make it more real? Are there things that are missing? The interesting thing that in this case, Gemini immediately produced me a summary of the lesson and also looking at the open questions I presented. And also analyze the student responses to my questions. Say, in general, students responded actively to the teacher's questions, different levels of participation were observed among students, and so on. Student responses show a basic understanding of the mathematical concept used in class, and so on. So I get as a teacher immediately this very valuable feedback, in just a couple of seconds. And I have a new prompt. Now describe how many questions the student asked the teacher. And we produce, okay, type of question, clarification question, we have 6. Other questions 4, opinion questions 2. For example, clarification question, what happens if the wind changes direction? Why does fire spread faster in some areas than in others? These are the questions. So I get this whole analysis, but how does it compare to analysis by a lesson studies expert? Here's an analysis of lesson of an expert. And now the expert recognizes it's a process, there are transitions, and there is some making the student draw out their own ideas. So I realized that Gemini was very powerful, but still, there's something lacking, and or I was not able to produce this with prompts. So here comes the idea. This is Tom Kim Lan, National Institute of Education, President of Singapore Association of Mathematics Education, that produced this feedback to the lesson. He was this expert. So what I see here is first competency, how to ask the system, what is called prompt engineer. This is very important because, it all depends how you ask the system. You have automatic transcription, and then you will have to ask the system to analyze your lesson in order to get the most feedback. And I realized that in my questions, I didn't focus too much in the process and transitions as this expert did, so the system was not able to produce me this kind of feedback. And there is also the problem of hallucination. It's the system, when they don't know, they even if they know, they give you an answer, and they look pretty sure with their, because they're very articulate. So you have to not also learn to check if these answers make sense or not. So I'm going to give you another example of assessment of open questions. This is very interesting because open questions is going more than just multiple choice. This is a project we've been doing with Mr. Shaikh. He is in the STEMED and University of Tsukuba and SEAMEO, and we have this coloring book to computational thinking. And we have just produced this guidebook for unplugged rational thinking, and this is kind of like piece of creative thinking, but in this case, it's more broad ideas thinking. So it's the focus in written argumentation of the case, visual reasoning, problem solving, and problem posing, and also interaction with peers, and learn to interact with artificial agents. So I'm going to show you some activities. This activity, for example, it says here, paint the dress green. That's simple, but in this one, it says in each box, paint at least 2 blue balls. So the kid did this, and in page B, the student posed a problem to a classmate. Yeah, this posed a problem, and we did this in Konkan University, and we have this kind of solutions, very beautiful patterns with this activity, and other solutions like this. And the other thing is, how would you make instruction in order that to paint in this way? So, what could be a good instruction? And then, if the kids are able to color this correctly, this is an open kind of problem. So you specify it in written form the pattern, and the student have to paint them and then explain how they did it. They have to explain. So how you could correct this? For example, here's a problem. Choose a color in each box, paint at least 2 balls of that color. Is this correct or not? Think about this one. The same one, each box says, and now it's a little bit different. In each box, choose a color and paint at least 2 balls of that color. It's a little different from that. And it's a computational thinking activity. And here is another one. In at least 2 boxes, choose a color and in each ball of that color. You see that the instruction is different in each one of these, and here is a solution that they produce. How do you see if it is correct or not? Well, let's ask the system. Here are teachers in Peru looking at this activity as well of coloring, and here is something that I cannot see well, but here's an activity. It says choose a color and paint. I cannot see. I have this. I'm in each ball with the ball's color that is just above in the left adjacent box. And then if there is no ball above in the left adjacent box, paint with the ball's color at the bottom of the left adjacent box. See, this instruction is not easy at all. And here's the solution. It is correct or not? And okay. Well, can advance again. And this is correct or not? and this is correct or not. This is a very interesting and engaging problem for the kids. It's called just scoring problem, but the logic is the computational logic is not easy. We try with different prompts. This is the kind of prompt we have here: zero shot, and here we have a few shot, and here we have another one. What is called? I have this thing. It's called chain of thought. Is another prompt that you have to teach the system how to solve these things. And here is another one called zero shot with context. And here's another prompt. It says few shot with context. And here's another one. It's the visualization of thoughts. It's another strategy. It's another kind of prompt. So you have several prompts. And here, for example, visualization of thought, you have to give the command visualize the state after each reasoning step. So this is the strategy. And here's a whole table of the different prompts and if a different kind of questions is able to do it correctly or not. Only one of them was able to do it correctly with a lot of help. And this is self-consistency is tried several times, 5 times the same problem. And you can see that not always the system is able to do the assessment correctly. So that's the problem that this is not like the typical computational system that always like an Excel sheet, you always would do the addition the same way and with the same result. Here you try one time, and then here 5 times the same problem, and the machine will produce you different results. So what we see here is that prompting, and we have two kinds of problems. Hallucination, that maybe the machine does not produce the correct solution. So you need to understand, and can you trust this? Then you have different prompts that you have to use. So what are the challenges? The challenges is that for the teacher companies, you have to learn to think this computational thing. It's really different from the typical computational thing that you have when you use a spreadsheet or any other typical computer program. You also have need this creative thinking, go more beyond multiple choice kind of activities. And then you have this competency, this very important prompt engineering. This is a field that is growing, is emerging, because I show very quickly like 6 types of prompts, like few shots, giving context, visualization of thought, chain of thought. Each one of them is a little bit better than the other one, but there's no complete solution. So you have a problem of trust here, and you have to learn how to talk to this system. So that's in the technical language is prompt engineering, how to prompt the system in order to produce hopefully correct results. And what we're doing now is helping with this the teacher with an app. The app, will look at this kind of activities and will produce a transcript and then make an assessment. So, and what are the opportunities? Well, now finally, I think the most important thing is we're breaking free from multiple choice questions. Now we can open the full thing of creativity, all kind of questions, and the machine will help the teacher to assess the solution. So this is opportunity of creativity now. Change the typical kind of questions that we have on systems and also on paper. And the companies, we need to understand the psychology of artificial intelligence, how to talk to them. It means how we should do this prompting. That's how we talk with them. We need to develop the ideological strategy with several artificial agents. Because I show only with one, but you can, for example, say if you're teaching biology, you could ask the point of view of Darwin or the point of view of Watson and the point of view of Watson and Crick. So and you have different agents. So you not only one. I just show one, you can have several agents and you need to learn to talk to all of them. So that's the basic competencies that we need. So I think we are in an incredible time that is going to change radically education. And from the teacher point of view, I've shown two critical activities. One, to get prepared from your lesson, you have, immediately doing prompts or the transcript of your lesson. You can have, once you finish, you have, if you record, you can have a transcript very quickly and get a full feedback of your lesson with very detailed feedback. And also, I've shown a second example, and when you do more creative, open activities, you can have the machine also, this generative AI, to analyze what's going on, but it's not that automatic. It's not that, still you need to learn, the teacher need to learn how to ask this question, how to talk with this generative AI, because they, they could hallucinate, they can give you wrong answers, and also in one moment they give you one answer and one opinion, and next time you ask the same question, we could give you a different opinion. So we need to learn, and the teachers need to learn, they need these competencies to talk and make this fruitful dialogue with the generative AI. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Vetuaria. So a few key points from his speech just now. He told that we are right now in a Sputnik moment. We also saw how Gemini analyzed the Tokyo Forest Fire lesson transcription. We also saw the computational thinking activity using color ideas. At the same time, he emphasized on the teacher competencies, prompting, and opportunities. Okay. So thank you very much, Professor. So we don't have much time. We move on to the question and answer session. Okay, from the floor. So we have the first question from Joselito Aguit to Ms. Hani Mazari. So the question is, what are the implications, advantages, challenges, and considerations of allowing students to use AI for their learning and educational experiences? Okay, Ms. Hani.
Thank you. And thank you for the question, Joselito. It's a great one. So, I mean, I think we've discussed some of the advantages, but I'll go into it in summary. So, a real opportunity for personalized feedback and an opportunity to access information very rapidly across different fields, right? With the different generative AI technologies available. It's not just limited to, say, learning about history or learning about language. It's very versatile. But some of the challenges then is to figure out how to continue making sure that children or students are able to synthesize ideas, as synthesis is also really critical to learning. It's not like, how do you go beyond so students aren't going back to rote learning in a way by just absorbing or memorizing what information they're being exposed to? How do you create pathways for them to engage with the material as well? So I think the implications of that, I was thinking about this part of your question. I'm going back to the implications and linking it to considerations, because I'm going to actually go back in the timeline and think about when some of us were in school. Because there's always a new technology that people are trying to figure out, the effective or proper use for. But I remember back when I was in school, there were concerns about students using graphing calculators for math and Wikipedia for history, and just trying to figure out how we could cite, how students wouldn't plagiarize, but also how we would learn, right? And I remember that in math, we were allowed it in exams if we showed our work to basically show our reasoning and the different steps in our thinking. And I think, some of these aspects were highlighted by Professor Roberto just now in his presentation around the different steps and thinking about, the skill sets and computational thinking required. But really, if we show our work, or if students are forced or encouraged to break down what they're thinking behind each prompt they're introducing, say if they're using ChatGPT, right? Why are they introducing certain prompts? What are they hoping to achieve? And then thinking through how that builds, because it's even, with ChatGPT, it's never about just one search, let's say. It's not like a Google search. You have to keep tailoring that. And with that, you need some understanding of the material you're looking at. So it's really about encouraging students that they'll need to customize the content that they're absorbed to, but also creating policies for acceptable use to make sure that, you know, it's an environment where students are learning and not just absorbing, as I said. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Ms. Hani. So the next question goes to Professor Roberto Araya. So as a maths teacher, I believe that before my pupils can use AI to conduct additional research on these subjects, I must first present and teach them face to face and provide them with the conceptual knowledge. What are your thoughts on that?
Well,
Prof.
thank you very much for the question. I think face-to-face will continue to be a very important part, not only of the engagement with the kids, but still like here today when we're talking about this topic about the ideas of AI, generative AI, we need to talk to each other. We need to dialogue with each other, and in the case, in the core idea of mathematics or science, first the teacher need to understand them well, and so then generative AI could help just in the typical lesson. As I showed with Gemini, also will analyze my lesson when it was just face to face. But also if I want kids to use prompt prompt and use by personalized learning, still first the teacher need to know how to talk to these generative AIs. So the dialogue with these artificial agents in general. And prompting is critical. You know, as Hani mentioned also, the how you prompt this is different from just searching in Google. It's an iterative process, Hani mentioned, and there is several strategies that in order to get the information you need. And so before the kids learn this, the teachers have to know the strategies like chain of thought, as the other one, visualization of thought. These are different strategies that help the system and help you and help the interaction, and also later will help the student to learn the key concepts. So I think it's going to be a mix. It's need not to be only the student alone, isolated with a computer or a smartphone, but in the typical class, this could be a very critical tool in order to produce more effective lessons and more have the student more engaging and get to the core ideas of math and science. I also want to mention that in the second examples that I use about this conversational thinking, I did not use Gemini. I use GPT-4o, the multimodal one. So this is just to mention that there are several of these tools, and there is the problem of trust. They're not always going to give you correct solutions, so you have to be very aware of that. And that's something that is a very critical competency that our teachers need to learn.
Okay, Prof. Thank you very much. Okay, I think we come to the end of the second session today. So thank you to both our esteemed speakers for their invaluable contribution. So as conclusion for this session, the integration of AI in education is indeed a multifaceted challenge. But with the insights and standard shared today, we are better equipped to navigate this exciting journey. So let us continue to engage, explore, and innovate as we work towards an education system that truly harness the power of AI for the benefit of all learners. So thank you all for your attention and participation. So thank you again for the two speakers. And back to you, Mr. Zulkarnain. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Bala and our esteemed speakers for the interesting point of view and insights. Moving on, we have now come to the third and final session of our webinar with two more speakers coming from our SEAMEO centers. Allow me to introduce our third moderator for today's webinar. Dr. Wan has vast experience in mathematics education with expertise in inquiry-based mathematics education, computational thinking skills, mathematics education, STEM education, qualitative research assessment in education, supervision and instructional leadership, as well as policy studies for educational leaders. With 31 years of teaching experience in secondary school, Teacher Training Institute, and as a trainer at SEAMEO Wrexham, she has a comprehensive background in the respective field. Her experience includes serving as content provider, author, and translator of mathematics books. Dr. Wan's extensive background and contribution to the field underscore her dedication to advancing educational practices and leadership. May I now invite Dr. Wan to take over in moderating the session. Dr. Wan, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Zulkarnain, for the kind introduction. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Greetings to all of you. Selamat pagi, still morning, afternoon, or evening. Okay, let's go on to the final section of this amazing webinar. We have listened to two fascinating sessions before this, okay, about the generative AI in education, and also on the AI literacy and skills required for teachers, especially on the computational thinking, creative thinking, and prompt engineering. Now, I believe that it is time for us to learn more about the influence of AI and on policy and practices from our next two esteemed speakers. Okay, so both of them will be delivering and sharing their perspectives with us on the way forward on AI impact policies and practice. For this session, three objectives will be guided to discuss by our speakers. So the first one is what policy frameworks are necessary to support the ethical and sustainable use of AI in education. Second, how can we address the potential biases and ethical concerns associated with AI in educational settings? And the third one is what role can international cooperation play in developing effective AI policies and practices for education in Southeast Asia. So without further ado, allow me to introduce you to our first speaker, Mr. Ira Paulo Pozon. He's the attorney from Philippines. Okay, Mr. Ira serves as the Chief on Staff and Manager of the Legal Policy and Quality Management Office at SEAMEO Innotech. In his role, he has been actively involved in integrating artificial intelligence, AI, into educational frameworks across Southeast Asia, emphasizing the importance of AI in transforming teaching strategies and enhancing learning environments. Additionally, Mr. Ira is also an educator teaching law at various colleges and universities in Manila and a published author and columnist. His educational background includes a Juris Doctor degree from Far Eastern University, a master's degree in business administration from De La Salle University, and a master's in international commercial law from the University of Nottingham. Mr. Ira works at SEAMEO Innotech, including initiatives such as Project Vincent, a chatbot learning platform aimed at providing remediation for students at risk, showcasing his commitment to educational innovation and technology integration in Southeast Asia. So, Mr. Ira, the screen is yours.
Thank you very much. Everyone, good morning. Salamat pagi. My name is Ira Paula Pozon. I'm from SEAMEO Inotech in the Philippines. Can I just quickly confirm if you can see my screen and if my audio is clear to all of you? Hello? Can you see my screen and is my audio clear?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So good morning. Thank you to our friends from SEAMEO SEN for inviting me to speak today. I'll be talking about very briefly because it's a very long topic, AI in education and how we can navigate the roads or the routes ahead. Now let's quickly go through how we got here. You know the quotation or the proverb that says you don't know where you're going if you don't know where you've been. In terms of technology, to reach mass adoption or a factor of 25% of market access, various technologies have taken different timelines to achieve this. The airplane took 68 years, the telephone 50 years, the radio 38 years, and the TV 22 years. PC was 14 years, internet 7, iPod 3, and the iPhone 2.75 years. You can see the trend is that technology to achieve 25% of market access, the time it takes to get there, to get 25% market access or market adoption, is shrinking significantly. So next we have Facebook, only took 2 years. Twitter, which now became X, took 9 months. People, I often ask, what do you guys think is the next thing? People say ChatGPT, people say Instagram. You might find this funny, but Angry Birds took 35 days, while Pokemon Go, augmented reality game, only took 19 days. Why? Because technology is already very ubiquitous. For the last 4 platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Angry Birds, Pokemon Go, they just needed us to have our cell phones or our iPads, tablets. The technology was already accessible. Now, where are we today? In terms of educational technology, global edtech spending is targeted to increase significantly. It started in 2000 at $2.8 trillion, all the way up to $7.3 trillion estimated for 2025. The spending from 2020 to 2025 was estimated to double from $227 billion to $404 billion US dollars. The levels of growth in education, you would see from 2018 to 2025, the significant growth is still seen as augmented reality or virtual reality from 1.8 to 12.6 billion. Second place is AI from 0.8 billion to 6.1 billion. But really, if you think about it, that's exponential growth. Also, I think, or at least I theorize, that actually these figures might change in the next couple of years because this is based on a prediction before all of this significant growth in AI started to come around. Now, where could we be going? Let's take a look at the one example of a company. We have NVIDIA, which is the, if you're a gamer, a PC gamer, you know this company because they make the graphics chips, the high-power graphics, high-performance chips that you use for your laptops and your gaming systems. But you know that those high-powered chips are also what are used for AI generation or training. In last year, March of 2023, they launched the H100 chip. It would only cost 8,000 of those chips and 15 megawatts of power to have trained ChatGPT-4 Turbo. This year, March 19, they launched the Blackwell B200. The same training required for ChatGPT-4 Turbo would only have cost 2,000 of those chips and significantly less energy, only 4 megawatts of power. Now, on that same date, excuse me, they launched the Blackwell GB200. Now, if you look at the photo here, it's actually 2 Blackwell B200 chips on a single motherboard. So can you imagine how powerful that board is? Now, how do you think this is affecting the company of NVIDIA? It started off in 2001, $2.36 billion market capitalization, while only last month, June 21st, 2024, it reached 3.38 trillion US dollars market capitalization. For that one day, NVIDIA became the most valuable company in the world by market cap. The other companies in the list Microsoft, Apple, Alphabet, Amazon, Meta, they're all the people who are buying from NVIDIA. They're all buying those chips. Saudi Aramco might be buying some of the chips in terms of their shipping or their petroleum production, while TSMC is actually the second placer in terms of the market of semiconductors. So really, if you think about it, my theory is that AI is even going to explode even more. It's going to be more invasive, more ubiquitous, because even the top companies that in the world of whose services we use are purchasing these chips to increase their AI in their own services to their public. Very quickly, AI in education, they have their pros and cons. Walden University find them. And this has been repeated throughout this morning. A lot of our esteemed speakers have said these already. Pros: AI can help teachers create lesson plans, can help teachers create assessments, can help teachers to create novel or unique ways of asking questions or getting the answers from their students or getting the lessons across. Speed of response: if you ask GPT or any of the other large language models, the image generators, make me a photo on this, less than a minute, it's there. It allows for individualized or one-is-to-one learning. The same model, and I'll show this to you later on, the same chat GPT, you ask similar question, it'll give you different answers because I'm telling it my circumstances, which may be different. Has simulated context, and of course, it provides for personalization of learning. Again, already previously mentioned by our speakers. Cons: AI right now, all these large language models or these GPT formats, etc., are being trained by what we provide them. And what are we providing them may have some inherent defects in the data. As what was mentioned earlier, if you said that all gardeners, was it earlier, were Mexican, then the tendency is the AI will think if you need a gardener, it'll give you a Mexican person, which is bias. Same things, there's issues of misinformation. It can be used potentially for cheating. But here's what I think is more important. There is an interpersonal disconnect between a teacher and a student if all you do is you let the student keep using AI instead of the teacher using AI to get inspiration, to get ideas on how to reach out better to that student. And finally, as many people ask, will I lose my job because of AI? In my opinion, you don't lose jobs because of AI or because of digitalization. You lose tasks. And tasks are things that you can reskill yourself for. The World Economic Forum founder himself, Klaus Schwab, said, we have tools at our disposal. Technological innovation defining our current era can be leveraged to unleash human potential. I like to highlight the fact these are tools we should leverage. Mark Nataganagara, in his TEDx talk on machine learning, AI, and the future education, said only humans can think out of the box. AI, as it currently is, can only follow the rules they've been given. AI cannot experience. It cannot generalize. It cannot reason, reflect, think abstractly, or even understand relevance. It'll just give you an answer based on what it's learned so far. But a good education should do all of these things. That's why we are trying to emphasize teachers, members of the academe, no matter what level you're in, focus on using AI to emphasize or to re-emphasize these particular skills more than the basic skills that are that may be replaced through AI. 85 million jobs are at risk by next year. But the new technologies will create as many as 97 million new jobs. So there is a net increase or an area by which there would be progress. Top 10 skills estimated from the World Economic Forum and the ASEAN: analytical thinking, innovation, creative thinking, systems thinking, leadership, resilience, social influence, complex problem solving. Again, these are the skills that AI, as of right now, cannot do. They cannot experience, they cannot learn from those experiences, they cannot think creatively. They're only learning from what we are providing them. On the basis of policy, I won't go through this too deeply. I know that my distinguished colleague and friend, Dr. Kritschai, will talk more about this, but there is a Teach AI World Economic Forum attempt at making a policy for AI in education. And these are the core elements: fostering leadership, promoting AI literacy, guidance, capacity, and supporting innovation. Now, what are the levels of policy really? You look at the macro level, you see the social developments, technological developments, economic, environmental, political. On the meso level, you see the demand, supply, micro level, mission, vision, strategy, resources, etc. In terms of AI policy in education, I propose or I theorize that there is a need for the nano level. The teacher, the student, the school administrators, the principals. This is my own personal opinion. Now, why? A lot of the policies, laws on AI right now, created by some of the largest political and legal systems, the EU AI Act, the ASEAN Guide on AI Governance and Ethics, the US AI Bill of Rights, the Executive Order on Safe, Secure, Trustworthy Development and Use of AI, and even in the Philippines, just the other day, I attended the National AI Strategy Roadmap by our Department of Trade and Industry. All of these are overarching policies on AI. They're not regulations, they're not particularly regulating the industry, and they're providing guidance on how we could use it. But there's so many things that may not be as at the crux of what we need to do with AI for educators. The EU AI Act has a lot of discussion on privacy, on data privacy, on whether I should be able to allow AI to use my CCTV camera image on the streets of some city in Europe. Same thing for the issues of governance and ethics in ASEAN. Cybersecurity is a major factor in the US versions of this, the guidelines. So basically, there is little there's little concrete educational policies for AI. I would like to emphasize that as the educators and the students and the stakeholders, that should be coming from us. Now, so let's do that on a nano level. For instance, as I've been saying, change your way of thinking in the age of AI. If you're testing for knowledge, don't ask for an essay. Instead, the student will, you know what's going to happen. The student is going to say, I chat GPT, what is this essay? Print it and submit it as its own. That's going to be plagiarism. It's going to be another fight, this and that. Is it ethical? Is it not? Instead, don't even ask for the essay. If you want to make sure that they know the subject matter which you need them to know, make it an oral report. They can use ChatGPT to have researched it. Next thing you know, they integrated it and now it's in their heads and they're delivering it to you. As earlier mentioned, I think by our esteemed professor from the University of Chile, multiple choice questions can now be answered by AI. So instead, try to use visual aids. Try to make questions with analysis that is a requirement. Increase your applied learning, your hands-on assignments, and your projects for real-world experience. If your goal is for them to understand, use your open-ended, your scenario-based, or your critical thinking questions that they will have to answer through their own points of view. Also, the easiest way, as with plagiarism before, know your students' writing styles. If all of a sudden you know that their level was here, and one essay later, they're all the way up here using 10, 12, 15 letter words, that may be a sign that it may have been written by AI or by someone else. Personalize your assessments. Assign reflections as assignments to enable critical thinking. People say, are students cheating with ChatGPT? Of course, this is just a joke. I found this online, but if your students are copy pasting or even handwriting, even what ChatGPT was saying is, as an AI, there isn't enough information needed for me to accurately answer the original question. They're probably not going to be cheating that way. But for those, when they start to learn that they have to read what GPT is giving them, before they cheat. Remember in the 90s when the internet first came out, and for most educators, the concern was plagiarism, copy and pasting. The market provided. Certain softwares would check what percentage of or probability of plagiarism had occurred. Turnitin, Scriber, QText, DupliChecker. 2024, we now have ChatGPT. How do we check if a certain text may have been written by ChatGPT? There are some, it's not yet perfect, but there are some softwares, websites that provide a percentage or probability that they are written by AI. Undetectable originality, content at scale, writer, and copy leaks. What about images, videos created by AI? If it's created, for instance, by Canva, OpenArt, Chatbot app, the corresponding softwares or the provisions of the market that would tell you whether these images, this music, this art may have been created by AI, also here. So there will always be that give and take. Market will provide for your safety checks. Now, ChatGPT has enabled personalization of learning. This is ChatGPT 4.0, and just a really quick, I asked it to quiz me on Latin legal maxims because I'm a lawyer, and it gives you a quick quiz. What is this? I give it an answer. The next one, I know I'm running out of time, but the next one, I make a mistake. It gives me a hint. Gives me, it's like you're talking to a teacher, but I don't need to have my teacher's time right now. I'm learning it as I go. Now, the question, of course, would be whether it's accurate. So far, I've not found instances where these videos that I took were inaccurate. But of course, the ethical responsibility there is also for us to use our critical thinking and to make sure that what we are learning or getting from these large language models is indeed accurate, non-hallucinatory, for example. This one, I'm just going to show you. There's this Latin legal maxim where basically you're saying if you make the claim, you're the one who has to prove it. This is one way of asking it to explain it to you. Now, what if you say, explain that principle to me if I were a child? And it'll tell me, okay, imagine you have a toy, you say it's the fastest car ever. Your friend doesn't believe you. It's up to you who said that the fastest car ever is really the fastest. That is what the Latin legal maxim says. Another way of doing it. And I'm just showing this to you because this is the same GPT, this is the same laptop. I'm just using different prompts, and it is giving me different inspirations or different ways if I had to figure out a way to teach something like actori incumbit onus probandi, a legal maxim in Latin, to a child, to a teenager, to a colleague. Again, because these are tools. Now, what now? We have to recognize technology is developing at an incredible speed. If you thought AI developed very quickly, with the spending and the fact that NVIDIA is now overtook all of their customers to become the #1 highest market cap company in the world, fasten your seatbelts. The development of AI will fly even faster. Spending and focus on AI will only increase further. AI tech is already invasive, it's already ubiquitous, it's everywhere. You may not have thought of it, but there's a reason why if you're looking at a product on, let's say, Lazada or Shopee, next thing you know, you're seeing it more and more often on these apps or even across apps. And governments are only now developing high-level policies on AI. At high level, meaning they're focused on cybersecurity, data privacy, intellectual property, not necessarily how it would be most beneficial or most ethically and sustainably used in terms of education. That's why I say we should help them out and together create best practices and ethical practices on the use of AI and education on a nano level. Like other tools, we always must educate on how to properly and ethically use AI. The last time I gave this speech, I also said, if I give you a chainsaw, I am going to teach you how to use it. I'm not just going to let you wave it around indiscriminately, right? It's a tool. And one way we can emphasize the proper use of AI is to strengthen critical thinking, discernment, get them to think, get them to question, and in effect, fight misinformation. Last thoughts. This is something we always say. AI, like we're at the fourth industrial revolution, AI, like the tech of the first industrial revolution, is supposed to take over tedious and tiresome functions, allowing people to engage in newer methods and processes. This was written in 2018 by me. But I emphasize this because I already saw a little bit of what AI was giving us as early as 2018. Can you imagine how it's going to be 6, 7 years, 10 years from now? Especially now that it's even more ubiquitous. So with that, thank you very much. And I look forward to hearing your questions and to answering them shortly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ira, for your insightful inputs. Looks like there are so many things to consider before developing the policies for the education. Okay, now let's proceed with our next speaker, Dr. Kritsachai Somsaman from STEM Ed. Let me introduce Dr. Kritsachai first. Hi, Doctor. Dr. Kritsachai Somsaman is the director of the SEAMEO STEM Ed Center, a regional organization dedicated to enhancing STEM education across Southeast Asia. His leadership focuses on innovative educational practices, teacher professional development, and integrating STEM learning with real-world applications. Dr. Somsaman has been instrumental in developing various educational programs such as computational thinking through coloring books and critical thinking with picture books aimed at making learning engaging and effective for students. Under his guidance, SEAMEO STEM Ed has prioritized data-driven approaches to identify gaps and needs in STEM education, providing targeted support to member countries, and generating policy recommendations to inform national and regional educational strategies. Dr. Somsaman's work emphasizes the importance of international cooperation and partnerships to advance STEM education and prepare a future-ready workforce. So now, Dr. Kritsachai, the screen is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good morning to you all, and thank you so much for inviting me to this webinar presentation. And I'm very honored to be a part of the webinar today. And I'm glad that I have learned a lot from our early speakers on how we can use AI for education and a lot of issues that we need to keep our eyes upon. Well, after hearing a great deal of useful and informative content from all the speakers, or the speaker, you may, as I do, being overwhelmed with all the information and knowledge and maybe wondering what the next step should be. So what I want to do is I would like to introduce some resources that we have developed together with our partner from around the world to help the policy makers and also help the teacher to develop proper guidance to use AI for education. So let me share my slide quickly, and then at the end I will bring you through the resource, the website that contain all those resources. So let me quickly share my presentation. Oh, great. Well, of this resource, we are working together with different organizations in around the world, which the main organizer, which it's called Teach AI, which is a groups which come from code.org, and they want to develop guidance to use AI in education. So we work together to come up with several resources that anyone can utilize those resources in terms of guiding how you can use AI in education. So there are two resources that recently come out from this project. The first one is the foundational policy idea for AI in education. So this kind of a foundation policy ideas at some resources, very succinct informations that anyone can use to ensure that we learn, we understand the concept and underlying issue of the use AI in education. First of all, you can download this material from teachai.org, and there are ongoing developments that keep on producing more information, more material for us to understand. So foundation policy idea for AI in education, it's about one pager of like a pamphlet that you can use for policymakers, for anyone who would like to quickly understand the underlying issue in AI in education. So there are 5 pamphlets, we call it one pagers, which are available, can be downloaded and utilized. The first one is what is AI, very succinct information to explain you on what is AI, what is the development of AI, and what is the significance of AI. And the second one is AI in education and the workforce. It contains some information on how you can use AI in education and how it's impact of the future workforce. There are some statistic information as well. And the third one on the classroom perspective on AI. You can see that what are the current trends in this teacher and the student of how the AI has been used in the education setting. And another tools information are the policy landscapes, which has been implemented in the US and in global. We can see of what are the other organization around the world has been utilizing, developing policy for using AI in education. And the next one is the foundational policy ideas, which provide information on how to what issue should be in the policy, what issue should be developed in terms of addressing how to use AI in education. So I'll go over the foundational policy idea, which I think Ira from Ilapolo from SEAMEO Innotech has just briefly mentioned about. So the foundation policy idea for AI in education, there are 5 ideas that need to be embedded when we think about AI in education: foster leadership, promote AI literacy, provide guidance, building capacities, and also support innovation. For each one, for foster leadership, it's containing information that we need some sort of a task force to develop for policy development and implementation. The task force should is important to oversee all the development of and the direction that we should guide the utilization of AI in education. So the task force should inculcate of the recommended policy, oversee pilot program, monitor unintended consequence. So this to be the high level task force that oversee all the development of policy in AI education and how you could utilize AI in education. The first one. And the second one, it's on promote AI literacy. So we need AI literacy. We understand that the transformative power of AI. So we need to understand how we can promote AI literacy by integrating AI skill and concept. We talk about teaching with AI and teaching about AI. Teaching about AI, it's let the student learn about the function of AI, how they can develop AI. But teaching with AI, it's how we can use AI to assist in the learning process, how we can learn better by using the tool, the technical tool that we are having at our hand at this moment. And so in terms of promote AI literacy, or we need to understand not only the concept of the principle of AI, we need to understand the social impact, ethical concern, like our speaker has mentioned earlier. We can integrate the AI literacy into curriculum, or we can use this as extra material for students to learn as well. And the other important thing is we need to develop certain kind of a guidance to ensure that schools have been teacher and educator has been equipped with guidance of safe and responsible use of artificial intelligence. Well, in the guidance that we analyze, that we see that some issues that need to be discussed upon, and such as prioritize equitable access to AI tools, which EdTech Hub and the Ministry of Education Malaysia has already talked about, minimize bias, utilize legally and ethically create training set and models. We need to develop those kind of models or training sets that would be easily utilized by teacher and educator, and reaffirming the adherence to existing privacy and security policy. So in terms of developing policy of AI, we need to look back at the existing policy and to ensure that the new policy is aligned with the existing standard and policy about the school policy. And we also need to ensure that we maintain the human decision making. We are not utilize the AI to do decision making, but the decision making process still necessarily to be by the human being, and AI can provide human being with necessary information. And in terms of building capacity, we need to provide funding and programs to support educators and staff for professional development on AI. We need to do research on how we can utilize AI effectively and efficacy. And also, since teachers are also still important in the process of learning, so we need to provide professional development for teachers as well. And also, we need to promote research and development, as I mentioned earlier, on how to safe and effective AI in education practice and curriculum. So funding research is still important in terms of providing the development, the knowledge, how we can learn about AI. And also, as Andy, EdTech Hub mentioned earlier, we talk about the local solution of AI as well, because we have seen a lot of bias in the AI with using information, using data from the Western world, and how can we eliminate those kind of bias? We still need local data set and also the local information that we feed to the AI to ensure that the knowledge of the local knowledge is still available in the data for the AI to make a proper recommendation. So you can access this resource that's available from teachai.org website. Actually, you can do a / policy, or you can just go to teachai.org directly, and there will be a menu that you can select different kind of resources that are available. The foundation policy idea is one of the resources that just came out recently. It's another resource that it's been provided earlier. It's the guidance for schools toolkit. The guidance contains 7 principles for AI in education. We have looking at the policy level, which is a very high level. But right now we can look at what are the issues, what are the principles that we need to look at when we want to develop policy for school level. The 7 principles for AI in education, this is the issue that we have been discussed around the world to come up with the important aspect, important principle that we need to take a look, we need to get into consideration when we develop guidance for school, for educator. So the 7 principles are, the first we're talking about purpose. What kind of purpose that we are working on? Well, the key purpose is we are helping all the students to achieve education goal. So this is the main focus to us. When we introduce AI into the process, we need to ensure that the AI is to support the student to achieve educational goals. So like the one that we are using with Khan Academy. Khan Academy will not provide the answer to the student when they ask the question, but guide the student to learn, to develop their own thought. So that's the way that we need to look at how we are going to use AI to help the student achieve their educational goal. We need to discuss some kind of questions, what we need to do, how can we reduce the digital divide between students, and also in terms of inclusivity, and also on the privacy of the student as well. Those kind of purpose that we need to discuss. And compliance, I mentioned earlier that the policy existed earlier in the school, and in terms of introduce AI policy or guidance of AI, we need to ensure that those kind of guidance are not conflicting with the existing policy. So how can we ensure that our way of thinking of bringing in AI in terms of education, how it's going to ally with those kind of existing policy? And also the third principle in terms of knowledge is we need to promote AI literacy. It is somehow a lot of discussion that I have talked with in a lot of discussion, I have seen that people still don't understand exactly that AI is reliance on data. So they are still thinking AI can provide information, can provide correct information, but the way that you utilize AI for education is you need to concern more about the data sets that we have putting in as the back end of the AI as the data set. So we also discuss more about, instead of using all the information to train the AI for each subject, we can also train the AI particularly for that particular subject. So when we answer all the questions that still related to the particular subject in ChatGPT or in other AI, you can do this by yourself by creating the GPT set by yourself, by importing the data set that you would like to use it, and let the AI answer particularly to those data set only. The way that I usually do it, a very simple way that I provide people with example, I wrapped the SEAMEO SEN at regulation and put into the AI, and then ask AI on the information regarding only those information that I provided. So it will answer exactly the detail, using the detail in the material that I provide, but not grabbing information outside. So it's very specific to certain information set that I have been provided. And then we need to think about the balance, realizing the benefit of AI and also addressing the risk. We talk a lot about the benefit that AI has, and also what are the risks that come with the utilization of AI in education, and how we can mitigate those kind of risks associated with the AI. And very important is on academic integrity. How can we still keeping the academic integrity? Does our policy sufficiently cover academic integrity, plagiarism, and proper attribution issue when using AI technology? And also we can look at the professional development for educator, also in terms of supporting the alignment assessment. And we can rethink about the way that we develop assessment for the student as well. Well, as I mentioned earlier, in terms of process of decision making, we need to maintain human decision making when using AI. AI is the machine that provides us with information, but it's still artificial. So we need to ensure that the process of decision making, it's still with human being. So the policy need to focus us on we still keep the important thing on the human being. And I usually discuss about we need to rearrange our job to ensure that the important jobs and what the human capability can do. So we need to develop and restructure, rebalancing the job role so that some important work will be still handled by human being, and the supportive work can be done by machine or by artificial intelligence. Well, so let me bring you to the website that I mentioned earlier. So this is the website of teachai.org, which contain all the information. There are two parts which you can see the available resource, that are policy resource, and also the guidance for school toolkit. If you look at the policy guidance, here it's the policy resources which can provide information brief, can provide a policy idea, and also you can get the presentation material. The presentation that I used earlier is from the presentation material that are available on this website. And you have an information brief, like I mentioned earlier, on what is AI and what is AI education and workforce, classroom perspective on AI and AI policy landscape. If you click upon this one, you can see that this is the one pager of information. It's actually 2 pages, one sheet, and information about what is AI, which could be very easily understandable, and it would be we make it very easy for a policymaker, for anyone who is not familiar with artificial intelligence, to understand what artificial intelligence is about. And also similarly for AI in education and workforce, these are the informations that be provided for easily understandable, easily accessed. And similarly as the classroom perspective and AI policy landscape. And you can also see the 5 issue of foster leadership, promote AI literacy, provide guidance, build capacity, and support innovation. And you can learn more about the policy idea by seeing the information in here, the policy idea. Let me go back to the main website. And the other thing it's that we are having is also the guidance for school toolkit. This is available in the menu as well. You can see that the information that I mentioned earlier, how to use the school toolkits, the framework, and the key idea. All the information is accessible, and so that's you can see how to use the toolkit, and you can all the document editable, which means that if you want to develop some guidance, you can use this information and see of what issue of all the information is relevant, and you can put or modify the document accordingly to fit with the information, the environment, the school environment that you want to use the guidance for. So these are the available resources that has been developed together with organizations around the world. So we want to provide material that would be useful and can be used immediately for everyone in terms of the AI, because information is very overwhelmed. So we try to synthesize information to be accessible and understandable. So I would end my presentation at this moment. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Mon, for your very insightful inputs, and also thank you for your knowledge and guidance on the AI policies adoption, I believe. Okay, since we are running out of time, I think we better go to our Q&A session. Okay, the first question is for Mr. Ira. What are the most important policy considerations when integrating AI into our Southeast Asia educational systems? Is it ethical or cultural aspect?
Thank you very much for the question, Ahmad. I believe it is a mix of many other things, including ethics and culture. in Southeast Asia, as you know, we have we're all related, but we also have various challenges and opportunities. For instance, one key issue in the Philippines is how do I get AI across all 7,000 islands? And there are still schools without internet connectivity. And I can imagine that many of our neighbors may have similar challenges with their geographically distant areas. Now, in terms of policy, and that I raise that as the first because I don't want the use of AI to be focused on the richer cities and municipalities where you would end up widening your digital divide. You don't want to have students left behind. So I think an overarching national policy on making sure that AI is used and used widely is key. Now, when you use it widely, then you have to discuss other key issues. What are the ethics involved? What are the data usage implications here? If I use as a school or even as the Ministry of Education, if I want to know where my students are doing the best at and the worst at, I can put all of their grades into a GPT. It will work. It will tell me which anonymized students have the best scores in which fields, etc. But then again, we have to remember data protection and data privacy. The data owner there is not the ministry, it's the students. So we have to get those things involved. We have to get the transparency, the integrity to be re-emphasized. You have to get the consent of these data owners or data subjects before we even use their data for that sense. Second, and I think this is something we can all look into, is why are we giving our data for these gigantic large language models like GPT-4 for them to learn on when there are options for us to have our own? Many institutions have their own GPTs already. Amazon Web Services, for instance, I attended one of their forums. They have GPT on the cloud. I will subscribe to them. They will give me an allocation of space. I will upload my data to the cloud. The GPT will run, and the results only go to me. So there is that safety of the data. There's that safety of the integrity because I'm not helping them train the entire AWS AI landscape. I'm just using it for my own self purpose. Other things to consider, as mentioned already by Dr. Mon, we need to have the PDP or the professional development of the educators. It is difficult when you see the students overpassing the level of AI understanding or even how to use the technology as that of their own educators. And that happens every day. You know, we have I still remember, I cannot imagine how to teach my grandmother to use a touchscreen cell phone. But then again, that's every other family has a similar instance already. Can you imagine how difficult it will be when the teacher is trying to say something and then the student is faster at it and saying, no, AI says it's wrong. Lastly, the accuracy of the GPT or the AI. It's still very, very important, even for us as lawyers. There are GPTs for lawyers where I can give it all the information on a certain case and summarize it. But I cannot use that product and just go to court with it. My duty now is to double check the accuracy to make sure it is right. A lawyer in the United States used ChatGPT to say, give me a pleading with case citations for this type of case. Unfortunately for him, the AI hallucinated and was inventing case names. X versus Y did not exist. Alpha versus beta did not exist. Crown versus whatever. And the judge saw it and sanctioned him. So as we get to all of these things and we're learning as to how we're getting along, these are many of the different considerations we have to look into before we even consider policy considerations. When we're looking into this, we need to know how we're going to use AI, how we're going to use it properly with integrity, transparency, and ethics in order for it not to be abused. And that's where we can finally say, okay, these are the best practices and these are the policies we can make. Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Ira. Okay, we'll move on to the next question. This question, I would like both of you to give your input. Okay, how might SEAMEO help in creating AI policy for education within this region? Can we start with Dr. Mon?
Sure, certainly. Well, the issue of AI for education in Southeast Asia, the one thing is that we have a very differences in among all the country in Southeast Asia. So, in terms of creating a very big one policy for all the Southeast Asia, won't be possible. So, the attempt that we need to do is we try to work together globally. That's why the SEAMEO STEM Ed and SEAMEO Secretariat also joined the Teach AI initiative, so we can understand all the aspect and we can input our information, our environment, and our ecosystem to discuss together in the global group to ensure that we can help each other in terms of developing guidance, developing policy recommendation on how we can utilize AI in education. So you can join this initiative also. This is the first thing. It's the Teach AI. It's open for everyone to join you, so you can subscribe to the channel, and then you can follow up to what is going on. You can also participate in giving comments. Also, if you want to become part of the supporter or helping in terms of developing those kind of material, we also collecting the way that the information of how you use AI in education, the good practice, so we can share, we can learn from each other, so we can develop what kind of problem that you are facing. I think that we are everyone is not facing unique problem. We also share those kind of problem. Everyone else in the world also have the similar problem as well. So we can discuss, we can share the idea, we can share the solution that we develop together. And well, those kind of another thing is this webinar is also important. The good way that SEAMEO centers gather together to help each other, because we have representative of SEAMEO center across Southeast Asia region. So each SEAMEO center, if you want to develop any kind of AI policy or want to our SEAMEO center, our SEAMEO system to help to assist you with certain kind of problem in education, science, and culture, you can contact one of our centers in your own country, and they will link us to the network of SEAMEO center, which each has the specialization which can help you in terms of guiding you to the proper way of how you can proceed, and you can develop together with you the issue that you want to go through. So that's my short answer on this.
Okay, Mr. Ira?
Well, I agree completely with everything that Dr. Bona said. It's difficult for us to just say, okay, let's have an AI policy for the entire Southeast Asian region in education, because we're all related, but we're also very diverse. The challenges in Singapore are not the same as the Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, Bangkok, Thailand, etc. But what we can do, and what I very much agree with, is that SEAMEO is already starting it through the work that the centers like Dr. Mornas mentioned with Teach AI. You're developing the guidelines, you're developing the starting point, and that's very important. What we can do next, for example, if the secretariat or the entire organization would like, is we'll come together and really discuss, like in TWG, what are the challenges across your countries in terms of various segments or challenges of AI in education. For instance, one entire policy will just be on data privacy, protection, integrity, and transparency. Another one would be on intellectual property rights. How can what used to be the system where if a student in university creates something, it is within the university using university computers, there's a shared IP between the student and the university. But now if I'm going to use AI, there's going to be a change to that, because number one is that the intellectual property that should be protected. Number two, who owns it? Who made it? So again, these are all very different things. There should be a policy for immediate and effective training of teachers, educators, administrators, principals across. Because if you've never touched GPT before, then you won't see the pitfalls and you won't see the opportunities. That's why I had some of those videos. Same question, asked 3 different ways, it gave 3 different answers. And that strengthened the use of it. Because again, it's a tool and people need to know how to use that tool to best make it effective, efficient, and ethical. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you. So I think both questions just now conclude our third session. So thank you very much, Dr. Mon and Mr. Ira, for these sessions. Very, very inspiring, actually. Okay, so I'll pass back to Mr. Zulkarnain.
Thank you, Dr. Wan. Sincere thanks to all moderators and esteemed speakers. Personally, I believe we have heard many new perspectives on generative AI coming from different contexts, being educational settings, the ministry, higher learning institution, SEAMEO centers, as well as technology partners. Hang on, we are not done yet. Please let us put our attention to a short 3 minutes video on the success stories from our teachers, Mr. Stephanus Lucas from Malaysia and Prof. Arvin Kim Armila from the Philippines on how AI has revived their teaching and learning environment. Let's together watch the video.
AI helped me to come up with more creative, innovative, and inclusive teaching ideas. For example, I use AI to create interactive video, custom visuals, and even virtual reality experience tailored to my students' needs. This is especially important for my special needs students who often require unique and variety teaching methods. So AI can suggest new ways to present information or create exercise that keep all students engaged and excited about learning.
Like the abacus and calculators before it, generative AI is a tool designed to enhance learning and make complex tasks more manageable. Just as the calculators transform the ways we approach mathematics, AI is now transforming education and automating administrative tasks.
Let me explain how. First one, creating teaching ideas. AI helped me come up with a lot of ideas for my lesson. For example, I use ChatGPT to get suggestions for activities and lesson plans that fit the need of each student. This makes my teaching more effective and tailored with my student needs. For example, I have students who loves animals, or we learn to explore the animal sound. So ChatGPT can help me to design a music lesson that incorporate with animal sound or exploring animal sound. So this keep the student engaged and make learning more enjoyable for them. So the second thing, making teaching materials. AI makes it easy to create teaching material that are fun and inclusive.
Creating a course syllabi is an initial task that sets the tone and structure for the entire course. Traditionally, this process involves extensive research, careful planning, and, of course, a considerable amount of time is spent. However, generative AI has streamlined this process, making it more efficient. We all know this. There are course syllabi available on the internet. But out of curiosity, I prompted Google Gemini, used to be known as Bard, to generate a course syllabus. And it did. Within seconds, I have a syllabus. But it did not stop there. I had to check the appropriateness of the course contents, alignment of the assessment task, and the like. The deal breaker was the references. I had to check if the references listed on the generated syllabus are available in our library. And since many of the references listed are not available, I have to modify it. Also, generative AI is a very good tool for creating outlines and learning objectives. I was amazed at how quickly and effectively AI could generate a comprehensive outline. AI can pull together an enormous amount of information from a vast database. But I have to be critical as it could give out wrong information. I have to check the output. AI not only generates these objectives, but also provides suggestions for assessment methods to measure students' progress. However, as a teacher, I have to check if the learning objectives are aligned with the assessment, creating a cohesive and effective learning experience. The process of generating learning objectives with AI also allows for quick adjustments and updates, ensuring that the course remains dynamic and responsive to students' needs.
In our classroom, we need ongoing training, first one. And then the second one, user-friendly and affordable AI tools. And the third one, accurate academic reference. With this kind of support, we can make the most of AI to action teaching and learning. And AI has a great potential to improve education with the right support, and we can unlock this potential by the benefits of our students. By addressing these key areas, we can ensure that AI becomes a powerful ally in our educational journey, helping us to create more engaging, effective, and inclusive learning experience for all our students.
Providing reliable technical support can help ensure that AI tools are used effectively and that any problem are quickly resolved. Supportive leadership is also crucial for the successful integration of AI tools. School leaders should champion the adoption of AI tools by highlighting their benefits and successes, fostering a culture of innovation, and providing the necessary resources and support for teachers to experiment with and integrate AI tools into their teaching practices. A comprehensive policy framework from the national government is also essential to guide the ethical and effective use of generative AI in education. Policymakers should develop guidelines and standards that address these key issues, such as data privacy, ethical AI use, and equitable access to technology.
We do hope our listeners have gained new insights, a new perspective on generative AI, and how it can be a tool to assist in teaching and learning in the classroom. I know I did learn a whole lot of new information from today's session. As much as we want to listen and understand more on the topic, I am afraid that we have now come to the end of the webinar. I'm happy to inform that our webinar committee will gather the remaining questions shared by our listeners, and all these questions will be forwarded to our speakers. Both question and answers will be posted in SEAMEO SEN social media pages in due time. I am pleased to also inform that the evaluation link has been activated. Our listeners can start accessing the evaluation form starting now, but please be reminded that you must complete the evaluation before 12 midnight Malaysia time to qualify for the webinar certificate. The webinar certificate can be downloaded right after completing the evaluation form in our SIS site. For updates on future programs, you are welcome to like and follow SEAMEO SEN social media pages on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter through the QR and link on the screen. For those who have just joined, the full webinar recording can be watched at SEAMEO SEN official YouTube channel. If you have further inquiries, you may reach us at communication@seameosen.edu.my. On behalf of the webinar committee, SEAMEO SEN, and our collaborators at Tech Hub and SEAMEO Wrexham, I would like to again express our sincere thanks to everyone for tuning in to our live webinar. Our highest appreciation to all esteemed speakers and moderators for your sharing and participation. Terima kasih, thank you, khop kun krap, o kun, khop chai, kam ơn, obrigado, selamat po, and assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Until we meet again in our next webinar, I'm Zulkarnain, signing off.
It's time to open our eyes to a bright and promising future. We'll rise to the call of the times and create a stronger tomorrow. Let's start to make a difference, teaching everyone to learn through science, health, and technology. We will share our expertise by promoting knowledge and policies. We can build a better world. Let us take a stand for our visions alone, making future plans for the people to grow in a life filled with happiness and green. Here at SEAMEO, building the future is our legacy. We'll achieve our goals through partnership, creating opportunities. By working hand in hand, we can accomplish all our dreams for a better quality